puzzle is complete until you have the final piece. Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Next. No place on earth quite like Yankee Stadium in October. The ballpark hums like a high-tension wire in the moments before a playoff game. And when the Yankees play the Red Sox in October, the electricity crackles throughout every borough in this city. From Yankee Stadium in New York, it's Game 1 of the American League Championship Series as the East Division champ New York Yankees face the wild-card champion Boston Red Sox. Welcome to the Bronx in New York, everybody. I'm Dave O'Brien, along with my partner, former National League Cy Young Award winner Rick Sutcliffe. It's delightful to have you with us tonight. A beautiful, cool evening, just perfect for the Red Sox and the Yankees. But I'll tell you what, this series, this rivalry has been the talk of baseball for years and years, decades and decades. You go back to 1920 when a young man named Babe Ruth was sold by the Red Sox to the New York Yankees for $120,000. Well, since then, after what he did, establishing a dynasty here in New York, the Red Sox haven't won a thing. The Yankees have won 26 World Championships, and the curse of the Bambino was born. So for a while, the Red Sox certainly felt the heavy hand of the curse. They shook that off. They beat Oakland 3-2, despite not swinging the bats very well. They're trying to win their first American League Championship Series since 1986. Now for the New York Yankees, they dominated the Minnesota Twins, their first-round opponent. In fact, did not lose to them all season long. But then came Game 1 and a stunner as Minnesota took that and immediately put the Yankees on notice. That could be a tough series.
It was embarrassing for the Yankees, not only the way they played in that game. David, they are back.
So the Yankees, they have felt that sweet taste of the champagne many, many times. They won 100 games during the regular season, knocking off the Twins in the division series. And now they're up against their arch rivals, the Boston Red Sox, here in Game 1 tonight at Yankee Stadium. This is the one everybody wanted to see, the Red Sox and the Yankees, for the right to face the National League champion in the World Series. Red Sox trying to shake off that curse. Nothing would please New England more than to get there on the backs of their hated rivals, the New York Yankees, with the Babe watching somewhere. Back inside Yankee Stadium, and earlier this season, the president of the Red Sox, Larry Lucchino, actually referred to the Yankees as the evil empire. That touched off a storm of controversy and angry words. Now, this is a rivalry littered with fistfights and bench-clearing brawls and genuine dislike, but both managers say a lot of respect, too. Here's Grady Little.
Oh, that we have two good clubs here. They've got a good one across the way. We've got a good ball club. You never know what will happen when you're playing a game of baseball. You can't assume anything, but I think for a while people could kind of see this coming about, and now it's here. Let's play.
Every time we play, there's buzz. Every time we play, it's important for us to beat each other. So I don't see that there's any more conversation, especially since we just played a series. If they were the first series we were going to play, then you might have to sort of talk to some players or talk to the team. But the fact that we just played a series and we have played these guys 19 times and knowing how intense the last two series especially were, I don't sense that anything has to be said.
When it comes time to play a baseball game, they're always ready to play. They got a term they've been using, cowboy up. They're cutting everybody's hair off. I don't know if that's trying to distract them away from how tired they are or what, but they even got Theo and myself last night. But they'll be ready to play.
I think this rivalry is better than any rivalry that's going on right now. I was in St. Louis, you're right, and that Cub-St. Louis rivalry was pretty intense, but I think this energy-wise is bigger.
It's a different level of
this season, and he is a staff saver. He can pitch every day if needed.
Now the Red Sox coming off an excellent series in terms of how they pitched. That was against the Oakland A's. He's trying to keep that going. Wakefield talked to the media yesterday after Boston's all-night flight from Oakland. He says they're still flying high.
Words can't describe the last 48 hours for us. You know, it's the two games in Boston. We win in the 11th. Trot hits a homer. Game 4 came down to the last at bat again. David Ortiz is huge. His first hit of the series, it happens to perfect timing for that. It scores 2 runs to put us ahead. And last night, going down, they had bases loaded with, 1 out or 2 outs, and Derek gets a huge strikeout there. It's just, it's been a whirlwind the last 40 hours, but it's been an exciting time for us, and hopefully we can carry this momentum into tomorrow night.
Wins. Now, he has always been tough of the Red Sox, but he says he's always enjoyed the rivalry with the Boston team as well.
I always felt the Red Sox-Yankees series were always postseason atmosphere. And if you wanted to come see a postseason game in the middle of June, you came to a Red Sox-Yankees game, whether it's at the stadium here or at Fenway Park. That's if you wanted to see it without it being October, that's what you did. And you know, you just magnify it 10 times, and that's what you're going to have.
Well, you've got the difference here in a rested team and then a team that had to play all 5 games in that series. Ideally, you know, it would be Pedro Martinez in Game 1 if Boston could, but he had to pitch Game 5 of the divisional series. Derek Lowe, who's going to pitch Game 2, also had to pitch in that. So to me, if the Boston Red Sox can pull off a win tonight, they get Lowe and they get Pedro back out there for Games 2 and 3, they will have a lot of momentum.
Yankee Stadium, Game 1, and this place is ready to come undone in the Bronx. The Red Sox and the Yankees, it does not get any hotter than that. Mussina against Wakefield, and the first pitch is right around the corner. Yankee Stadium ready to explode. Wow.
You look at him now. I talked to him for about 10 minutes. There's a lot of blood still in his right eye. There is a lot of swelling on the side of his face, and they hope to get him back for Game 3. But to be honest with you, when you think about a left-handed hitter having to see out of that right eye, it's real doubtful he'll be able to play.
Awfully hard to see this guy when he has all of his pitches going. That's Mike Mussina starting for the Yankees in Game 1. 17-8 with a .340 earned run average during the regular season. Now for the Boston Red Sox, their starting lineup, not Johnny Damon up top. It's Todd Walker instead subbing for him. Bill Miller won the batting title. He hit .326. He moves up to the number 2 spot. And then the real dangerous hitters in Garciaparra and Ramirez and David Ortiz, who drove in over 100 runs this season. The Red Sox, the most potent offensive team in baseball.
Well, this guy has seemed to have his way with the Boston Red Sox. 16-11 with his career, an ERA of 3.09. And over the last 10 years, only one guy in all of baseball has won more games than Mike Mussina, and that's Greg Maddux.
Also a terrific fielder, a 5-time Gold Glover. And on the topic of defense, let's meet the Yankees defensively as they try and bolster around Mike Mussina in Game 1.
Nick Johnson, first base, USA.
Alfonso Soriano, second base, Dominican Republic.
Aaron Boone, third base, USA. Derek Jeter, shortstop, USA.
Hideki Matsui, outfielder, Japan.
Bernie Williams, center field, Puerto Rico.
Juan Rivera, outfielder, Venezuela.
Jorge Posada, catcher, Puerto Rico.
Indeed, the global New York Yankees. And their ballpark, Yankee Stadium, is packed to the gills. Todd Walker ready to dig in. Moments away from the first pitch from Mike Mussina. And this storied rivalry will add another chapter beginning tonight. And the first pitch is in there for a strike. And we are underway with Walker, the hitter, followed by Bill Miller, and then Nomar Garciaparra. Mike Mussina, born in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, 34 years old. He has a great menu of pitches, the equal of anybody in baseball, and that one swung right through by Walker. Quickly, 2 strikes on the hitter.
He's a lot of fun to play defense behind. Derek Jeter told me before tonight's game, because he's so efficient. Most of the time with Mike Mussina, he will not only put up a scoreless inning, but he'll do it 1, 2, 3.
The big crowd already chanting Moose, Moose, Mussina's nickname. They want a strikeout. Outside. They have to be careful with Walker because he hit 13 home runs during the regular season, but belted 3 home runs against the Oakland A's in the division series. That tied a record for a second baseman in the division series. Fouls that one away. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Really, the key to this whole series is going to be to contain this Boston Red Sox lineup. You cannot give up the big inning. 5 28 times this year they scored 5 runs or more. So explosive from top to bottom.
1-2 on the infield, tap to Soriano. Alfonso Soriano over to Nick Johnson for the out. Mussina gets his first man on a roller. Bill Miller up next. Now, during the regular season, these two teams met 19 times. The Yankees won the season series 10 games to 9, but a lot of terrific finishes. And on the topic of finishes, Grady Little's team finished second yet again to Joe Torre's Yankees. That's 5 consecutive years Boston has been the bridesmaid of the Yankees in the American League East. Inside ball 1 on Miller. Garciaparra up next, just getting started. Game 1 of the American League Championship. Game 1 of the National League Championship was filled with great drama in Chicago last night. The upstart Marlins pulling a stunner, beating the Cubs at Wrigley Field. But that's keeping in line with this great trend of incredible playoff games from the division series now to the league championship. Johnson picks it up along the first base line and retires Bill Miller. A couple of ground outs, 2 away.
This is fun. I tell you what, these fans come to this ballpark prepared from the very beginning. Whether they're cheering for Moose or whether they're booing Nomar Garciaparra, they are ready to be entertained.
It sounds like inside the ballpark, these fans are trying to close a Broadway show on the 3rd night of a bomb. They're booing all the way through, but that's not actually what they're doing. They're moosing their way through the inning. For Mike Mussina, here's Garciaparra. Nomar takes ball 1. He's a .301 hitter during the regular season. He drove in 105 runs. And he will marry international soccer star Mia Hamm when the playoffs are over. And given how dignified and private that those two stars are, I don't think you can expect a J-Lo, Ben Affleck kind of implosion of that marriage, of those wedding vows. Here comes the 1-0 pitch. Good breaking ball for a strike. It's probably going to be a very quiet ceremony with none of the hysteria. Nomar so active in that batter's box. Will all of his idiosyncratic movement. The 1-1 pitch. Cut on a miss.
Yeah, you might notice that Nomar is really one of the only players that didn't shave his head. And Dave, the reason he didn't is because he said that Mia might change her mind about marrying him if he didn't have the hair that she's known him to be with for so long.
Yeah, he's keeping the do no matter what. Mia says so. 2 down, bases empty, and the 1-2 pitch popped up back out of play. Manny Ramirez, the next man in. The Boston Red Sox, as Rick pointed out, shattering all sorts of offensive records during the season. Ramirez drove in over 100 runs. Up and down the lineup, excellent power, big batting averages, and very tough outs. But Mussina's trying to zip through them in 1-2-3 fashion. Left that one low, and it's 2-2.
There's so many ways that Mike Mussina can go about zipping through a lineup. Basically command of 7 different pitches. He's got 3 different fastballs. He's got 3 different curveballs. He'll change the arm angle, as you just saw on the last pitch. And his changeup now is a split-finger fastball. He uses more and more.
A little bit low and a great eye by Garciaparra to take that one. It's 3-2. This is a long at bat by Nomar Garciaparra's standards. A very long at bat. 7 pitches already. Very aggressive hitter. Doesn't normally wait that long. 3-2 is popped up. Is it catchable? Posada giving chase, and that's out of play.
And what happens here too is if Nomar can win this battle and find a way to get on first base, the energy that it has taken from Mike Mussina to try to get him out will be wasted, and you never know what you're going to have left for the next guy who can be a lot of problems, that being Manny Ramirez.
Garciaparra takes offense to being walked only 39 times during the season. Did he take ball 4? He means to hit his way on here. Fly ball center field, but shallow. Williams in, Bernie Williams to make the catch, and the side is retired. So Moose does his thing. He gets Boston in order. That's it for the Red Sox, and the Yankees are coming up here in the first inning of game number 1. It'll be Soriano, Jeter, and Giambi when we return. Stadium all lit up for game number 1. Now look at the New York Yankees starting lineup, brought to you by MasterCard. It'll be Alfonso Soriano, a .280 hitter with 38 home runs during the season, followed by the captain, Derek Jeter, who's been hot in the postseason.
Yeah, and that 9-game postseason hitting streak started in Game 7 of the 01 World Series. It went through the 4-game series last year against Anaheim, and then he picked up a hit in each of the 4 games against Minnesota this year.
Hideki Matsui led all Major League rookies in runs batted in. They'll face the knuckleballing right-hander Tim Wakefield, 11-7 during the season. The Red Sox with a .277 ERA in their series win over the Oakland A's. They pitched very well. Wakefield is trying to keep that going into game 1 tonight. Soriano from the Dominican Republic waiting. He'll go after that first pitch if it's close.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not going to wait on much.
He'll go after that second pitch if it's close. The third one if it's close. He is not fooling around in there. Foul tips. And the count 1-1. The Yankees, the 26-time world champs. They're 8 wins away from a 27th title, but they have to go through their arch rivals to do it. New York seeking a 39th American League pennant. That's just staggering. Swung on and missed. And Soriano's behind 1-2.
And a little different knuckleball out of Wakefield to Soriano. Soriano, one of the better low ball hitters in the game of baseball. Wakefield, therefore, throwing a little bit harder, keeping it up in the zone.
Looking for a strikeout, but he left that one high.
That's the one that you look for to swing at. When you see a little bit of rotation on it, normally there's not as much movement out of that knuckleball.
Swung on and flied into right, and here comes Trot Nixon for the catch. Soriano flies away. And now defensively, meet the Red Sox.
Kevin Millar, first base, USA.
Todd Walker, second base, USA. Bill Miller, third base, United States of America.
Hi, Nomar Garcia-Parra, shortstop, USA.
Manny Ramirez, left field, and I'm from Dominican Republic. I'm Gabe Kapler. I play the outfield, and I'm from the United States.
Trot Nixon, right field, USA.
Doug Marabelli, catcher, USA.
And Tim Wakefield on the mound from Melbourne, Florida. 37 years old and facing Jeter, who flies this one on the infield. Walker and Millar there, and Walker has it. The second baseman sets him down, and there are 2 gone.
I got to tell you, I've known these guys. I've played against most of them for a long time, and I hardly recognized them walking into that clubhouse before the game tonight. This new haircut thing is just, you know, it's almost like they got to keep their jerseys on to figure out who they are.
Now, what inspired this? The Red Sox going with the shaved head look. I know that Grady Littles is trimmed a little bit. That's John Burkett. Now, John's been losing his hair for a while. We can say that. He's a great old guy. But Millar's got a great big head of hair normally, but he shaved it down. What's going on?
He was the guy. It was all him. Kind of their good luck charm was the mullet of Kevin Millar. Players would come up and pull on it and tug on it to try to have good things happen to him. Well, after they lost the first 2 games to Oakland, he said the mullet has lost it. He went in and took it off. Several other players follow suit, and before it's over, the manager, general manager, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people in Boston that are going to show up at Fenway looking just like their players.
Jason Giambi, a .250 hitter, and hiding his look, that's the owner of the Boston Red Sox, John Henry. He's got a cowboy hat on. Walker with a ground ball into the shift. Giambi hit it right at him. And a terrific first inning for Tim Wakefield. He gets the Yankees in order as the Red Sox try and cowboy up here in game 1. Whatever he's eating looks awfully good. No score after 1. Our umpires tonight. Tim McClellan is the crew chief. He's behind the plate. Terry Kraft, Alfonso Marquez, Daryl Cousins on the bases with Joe West and Angel Hernandez on the lines. And McClellan's been around a long, long time.
Absolutely one of the best in all of baseball. He was in the postseason last year in the divisional series and the World Series. As I said, outstanding, a little bit tight, which means if there's an advantage for either pitcher, it would go to Mike Mussina because he's a control type guy. Wakefield with the knuckleball can walk people from time to time.
Well, both of the starters, Mussina and Wakefield, so far throwing nothing but strikes. Mussina got Walker, Miller, and Garciaparra to start his game. And Wakefield got the Yankees in order. But here comes Manny Ramirez, one of the best hitters in baseball. .325 during the season with 37 homers. He drove in 104 runs. He takes ball one.
Just missed consecutive batting titles by 1 point this year to his teammate Bill Miller. It came down to the final day. Manny, of course, won that championship last year with a .349 average.
Ramirez actually sat out the last day of the season. That one stung down the right field line, but it slices foul. He hit the game-winning home run on Monday night to beat the Oakland A's, and then drew some criticism in some quarters, I thought unfairly, for styling after the home run. But if you are ever going to get emotional, if you're ever going to do that, put on a bit of a home run walk, it should be after you hit a huge home run like that to win a division series.
You know, it was a big relief for him by doing that because he didn't have any RBIs in that series till then.
Hard hit, but on one hop that gets to Jeter, and Derek Jeter gets it. One down, 4 in a row, retired by Mussina to start it. Major League Baseball International's presentation of the 2003 American League Championship Series is brought to you by MasterCard. There are some things in life that money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you from Yankee Stadium. American League Championship Series, game number 1. The best rivalry in American sports. The Red Sox and the Yankees. It doesn't get any better than this. And on the Red Sox during the regular season, maybe it didn't get any better than David Ortiz. He's a big reason, Sut, while they are here tonight.
He's done so many things, not only on the field, but in that clubhouse. He really befriended Manny Ramirez. He helped with the chemistry in that ball club, bringing everybody together, along with the guy who's in the on-deck circle, Kevin Millar. 2 huge acquisitions during the offseason.
Ortiz wasn't even an everyday player before coming to Boston and working his way into the lineup, but he finished 3rd in the American League in slugging, behind only Alex Rodriguez and Carlos Delgado. He had 72 extra base hits, and in the month of August he capped his great year with 11 home runs. He just tore the cover off the ball down the stretch. One big hit after another for the Red Sox, and that's on the corner for a strike. It's 2-1.
I hardly recognize him this year, but wow, he recognizes who's on the mound when you look at those numbers.
Wow.
Not only an 0 for 20, but the 13 strikeouts. But Ortiz has completely changed his body. He is a lot bigger and stronger than he was when he played for the Minnesota Twins.
Well, he's trying to figure out Mike Mussina. Certainly from the neck up at this point, the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Never had a hit against him. I think the real staggering thing about that number is the 13 strikeouts in 20 at-bats. That's unheard of.
He's not picking up the breaking ball. And to me, just watching this at-bat here, he's making a mistake trying to do that because he finds himself late on the fastball. The one pitch he could probably handle.
The big crowd wants a strikeout here. It drifted away, 3-2.
That's a pitch that Mike Mussina really came up with at about the All-Star break this year. He's always tinkering with things, and he's so talented he could throw any pitch, but that was a split-fingered fastball because he thought he needed something new.
1 down in the payoff pitch. He walked it. The crowd thought it was strike 3, but home plate umpire Tim McClellan, and again, you talked about his tight strike zone. He did not give it to the big crowd.
And I also talked about him being outstanding. This crowd wanted him to raise his right arm and say strike three. But the key to a good umpire is that you're able to shut your hearing off. You don't know where you're at. All you know is where the baseball crosses the plate, and that one did not cross it in the strike zone, and McClellan made the right call.
So base runner for Boston, and Kevin Millar in the batter's box, the other outstanding acquisition. .276 during the season with 25 home runs, 96 runs batted in. But he's the heart and soul of this Boston team. In their clubhouse, to a man, the Red Sox will tell you that without Kevin Millar, the Red Sox are not the tight-knit group that they are tonight. He keeps them laughing. He keeps them loose. He'll get in the face, though, of a superstar, just like he will the 25th man on the bench. Down and in, and the count 2-0.
Speaking of superstars, how about what he did to Manny Ramirez the first month of the season? He said, there he is, Jackie Robinson. And everybody's looking around like, what? He said, yeah. He says just about every 2 weeks, Manny Ramirez breaks the color barrier with the different colors that he has in his hair. I mean, how many people can pull that off?
Only his stylist knows for sure. Well, the count has gone to 3-0 on Millar. So I think the fact that Mike Mussina finally allowed David Ortiz to reach first base has shaken up the Moose a little bit. Millar's had a lot more success off him, by the way. 353 lifetime on the homer.
He didn't walk many people. Only 40 on the year for Mussina in 214 innings. And of those 40, 28 of them, though, were left-handed hitters. So if Millar is looking for a walk, I mean, I wouldn't hold your breath on it.
Well, now he's looking to hit something hard because it's a hitter's count for him. 3-1. With Ortiz getting a short lead at first. Millar, a good contact man. Would they think about putting a play on here?
I don't think so. They're going to sit back and look for doubles and home runs. That's what they have lived on all year long, is extra base hits. They've lost a lot of speed in the lineup tonight with that collision we saw before the game started.
Runner holding. That one flared into left, coming on Matsui. Hideki Matsui, who has settled in very nicely in the Yankee lineup. In fact, Joe Torre complimenting Matsui before the game, saying the guy from Japan has fit like a glove inside this team.
He just gets outstanding jumps, and whether he's in left field where he's at now or in his natural position, which is center field. When Bernie Williams went down during the course of the season, Matsui was asked to go to center field. And Dave, it's different here than it is most other ballparks because that is a big backyard behind Derek Jeter. A lot of room to cover, and probably a big part of the reason that towards the end of the season, Matsui looked a little bit tired. He's not tired now.
Runner on at first, and here's Trot Nixon, the right fielder for Boston. 28 homers, 87 RBIs during the season. Two down, and Mussina's first pitch to him misses low for ball one. You talk about all the extra base hits for the Red Sox. This season they even shattered the major league record for slugging percentage, which was set by the 1927 New York Yankees. That murderer's row with Ruth and Gehrig and Dickey and Lazzari
and company.
Maybe the greatest lineup in baseball history. They count 2-0. The Red Sox were their equal in that category. Head-to-head against the Yankees this year, Boston outscored them 109-94. This is a Red Sox team that can score runs better than anybody in the game. Inside and knocked down by the catcher Jorge Posada, and a count 3-0, so another 3-ball count.
I was talking with Jorge Posada tonight about Mussina, and I played with Mike in 1992. I know that he's got a cut fastball, a sinking fastball, and a straight fastball. I said, how do you put down signs for all of those? And he says, I just have to put down a one and hope that I can pick up the rotation on it, a lot like what the hitter's trying to do.
This is the fourth 3-ball count, and now another ball for the second one in the inning. from a man who hardly walks anybody.
But that almost looked like, to me, Dave, an unintentional, intentional pass. And you would not do this if Wakefield weren't on the mound, because Doug Mirabelli catches him all the time. In fact, he's caught him in his last 46 starts. You would have a much more offensive hitter at home plate right now in Jason Varitek. Another reason, Kapler's hitting behind Mirabelli because of the injury to Johnny Damon.
So even with the 7 for 51 that Nixon went to that at bat against Mussina with, he decides to pitch around him and go after Mirabelli.
Absolutely.
Of course, a lot more power in Trot Nixon's bat. Runners at first and second, 2 down. But Mussina has again fallen behind, and this crowd is getting a little bit restless. In this inning, he has thrown 13 balls and only 6 strikes. There are 2 away. Fastball that time, and he missed with it. 2-0.
This is where a pitching coach becomes so important, and the Yankees have one of the all-time best. Not only is he a great pitching coach, Mel Stottlemyre, but he was a great pitcher in his own right for these New York Yankees. Taking a look at Mike Mussina mechanically, he's just rushing a little bit with that front leg.
Rushing to a 3-0 count yet again. Now, I think the crowd is blaming the home plate ump, Tim McClellan. But this is very uncharacteristic of Mike Mussina to miss this often. On the last 4 batters, he's gone to 3-0 counts. And he never does that. The automatic strike, 3-1.
You gotta love these Yankee fans.
Derek Lowe's loving it.
They are tough, boy. Hadn't even given up a run yet, nor a hit, and they're already kind of jousting him a little bit with that strike.
Foul tip to the mitt, 3-2 now on Mirabelli. So Mussina's trying to come all the way back for a sold-out Yankee Stadium.
And look at it, now they love him. Here comes that move.
Broken back dribbler back to the hill, and the 5-time Gold Glover does his job. He certainly struggled. You won't see Mike Mussina labor quite like that maybe the rest of the night. But 2 men are stranded. A gorgeous night in New York City. It's game 1 of the ALCS, and we are scoreless in the middle of the second in the stadium.
A perfect 1-2-3 in the bottom of the first inning for Tim Wakefield. Let's take a look. Here's the curveball. Why did he throw a curveball to Soriano? You respect the power. You got to stay away from it. Now look at the knuckleball on Jeter. He thought it too would go away from him. It did not. Then you get Giambi up, the big power guy. You need some downward late movement to keep him from hitting the ball in the air. He was able to do all 3 things.
And a great knuckler. I shouldn't say spinning. It wasn't doing anything. It was a butterfly up there and bedeviling the Yankees in the first inning. Facing Bernie Williams, then Jorge Posada and Hideki Matsui in this inning. No score as we go to the bottom of the second. The thing about the knuckleball is that it can completely disappear on a pitcher. He may have a great one going for 3, 4, 5 innings, all of a sudden lose it, walk 2 or 3 guys, give up a few hits, throw a wild pitch, a pass ball, and all of a sudden his masterpiece has become ruins. Fastball looked like that time, and that missed on Williams.
If any little thing changes, the feel for that knuckleball pitch changes right along with that. If the wind picks up, if it changes direction, if all of a sudden you clip your fingernail a little bit and it's not the same, things change.
Over near the line, Manny Ramirez ranging and makes the catch. Bernie Williams retired. Manny, who is a New Yorker by birth out of Washington Heights. By the way, the Cubs underway and with a 2-0 lead here in the second inning of their game 2. Randall Simon with a hit off Brad Penny, a 2-run single. Florida with a 1-0 lead after another dramatic playoff win for the Fish at Wrigley Field yesterday in their first game. That Florida story continues to amaze.
Take a look at this knuckleball. Is there any rotation on it? I mean, that seam almost just stayed on line all the way to home plate.
He gets a strike in there on Posada.
I don't know how we kept a camera on that, because when it does not move, when there's no rotation, it really will take off before it gets to home plate. Hard to hit, hard to catch.
Now, how about you? Did you ever flirt with the idea of throwing one? Did you ever use one in a game?
You know, I think every one of us growing up tried to throw a knuckleball. I mean, anybody can throw one. It's an easy pitch to teach. You just can't throw it for a strike.
Line drive and a base hit. First hit of the ball game for either side. And it comes off the bat of Jorge Posada, the native of Puerto Rico. He's on with a single with one down in the second.
What a great year for Jorge Posada. An MVP type of season. Most people think that Alex Rodriguez will pick that award up, but you know that Jorge Posada is going to pick up some votes. Not only did he pick up 101 RBIs on the year, but even more important, his team picked up 101 victories, and he caught most of those games.
He's really been the rock of this New York Yankee team. He's been the starting catcher for each of the last 41 Yankee playoff games. And here is the postseason star, Hideki Matsui. Came up with a big home run in the Minnesota Twins series, in the division series. Led all major league rookies in runs batted in with 106 during the regular season. Makes his home in Tokyo, Japan.
So patient. I can't believe how patient he's been all year. It's almost like he has a plan of attack, just like he did in the divisional series when he hit the 2-run homer. He'll just wait you out. He's got so much confidence, even when he's behind in the count, that he can put the ball in play, that he'll sit on one particular pitch in one particular location before he swings the bat.
The former star of the Yomiuri Giants, 29 years old. And he also became a Major League All-Star here in the United States this year. He started the Midsummer Classic in Chicago. We talk about Posada being a rock and playing all but, what, 6 innings, catching all but 6 innings for the Yankees over the last 4 years of playoffs. Matsui was certainly a rock this year, playing in 163 games for the Yankees.
And you say, wait a minute, isn't the season only 162? Well, you're right. But the Yankees had a game this year in which Mike Mussina started against Baltimore that after 5 innings was rained out. Well, the stats counted, the game counted, but they had to make it up before the season was over.
.3-1 the runner going. Swatted that fouled away.
You say, what is manager Joe Torre doing, starting a slow catcher against a knuckleball guy? Well, there's a number that you have to look at. During the regular season, Hideki Matsui grounded into 25 double plays. So you put the infield in motion, you take the double play out of the equation. Joe Torre just terrific at only managing when he needs to.
He also likes Matsui as a hit and run guy. There's a big hole there in the right side, a runner going again, and he fouled it off once more. So Posada getting his sprinting in here tonight. He'll head on back to first.
Now, I read this. I didn't improve enough with my Japanese this year to ask Hideki about it, and then his English isn't good enough to tell me, but I read that he never faced a knuckleball pitcher in the 10 years that he played in the Japanese league. He has had 12 at-bats, though, this year already against Wakefield, picking up a couple of hits.
By the way, for all of our great baseball fans tuning in Japan tonight, or this morning, isn't it morning in Japan? Ohio gozaimasu to you. Fouled away there by Matsui, and again the hit and run on. Once more, Posada trundles back to first. 9:54 a.m. in Japan. So a lot of households have the television tuned into this one, and Hideki Matsui batting for the first time in the American League Championship Series. The season started off his very first at bat with the Yankees opening night in Toronto with an RBI single. And he turned out to be a dynamite RBI hitter all season long for New York. Aaron Boone on deck, a runner at first, one away. Again, he takes off, and that one lined into left for a base hit. Into second, stopping there, Posada. First and second, one down. The Yankees mounting an offensive threat here against Wakefield and Boston.
Let's go back and take a look at the patience of Matsui. Taking all the way there, trying to pick up the rotation, wanting to get something up and out over the plate where he can extend those strong arms. That ball just sailed on him. That ball he had to protect because of Posada off and running. And then finally, after he fouled off a couple of difficult pitches, Wakefield made a mistake. He made him pay for it.
Well, the second inning in Game 2 in his last start Thursday at Oakland was not kind to Wakefield. He gave up 5 runs in that second inning. The Red Sox would lose the game 5-1. In there for a strike on Aaron Boone to get him started. Boone, a .254 hitter for the Yankees during the regular season. Now, these are his combined numbers between Cincinnati and New York. He was an all-star with the Reds, but he was traded 2 weeks after the all-star game to the Bronx. He swings right through it, and it's 0-2.
Another thing they love about Aaron Boone, along with the power and the RBI numbers he put up this year, is his durability. He played in 160 ball games combined as well.
Drove in 96 runs for the 2 teams he played for combined. Swinging a high fly foul floating down the left field line.
I mean, when you lose a couple of stars, as Joe Torre did this year, Bernie Williams only playing in 119 games, Derek Jeter only playing in 119 games, you've got to have somebody that you can put out there. And Aaron Boone has become one of those guys.
Well, that's his brother, Brett Boone, who, of course, is a star with the Seattle Mariners, a Gold Glover, terrific slugger for his second baseman, and he has to analyze his brother tonight.
Well, I guarantee you they've got at least 2 phone books underneath Brett Boone. He's not near that tall.
Of course, Brett is a teammate of Ichiro Suzuki, who had another outstanding year for the Mariners, but they fell short in their bid for postseason play. So Brett's got a little extra time on his hands. Aaron does not. He's working an 0-2 pitch here. Hits that one foul. Oh, he hit it sharply. It took a big bounce. The third base ump, Darrell Cousins, said it was outside the line.
Absolutely no reason to get a ball hit down the line ruled incorrectly. You can see Darrell Cousins there. Right behind him, you can see Joe West. And combined, those 2 guys have 51 big league umpiring years experience.
Posada and Matsui on at first and second with 1 away. I'll tell you, Boone has hit a couple of shots in this at bat. He lets that one go. Yankees, and they're always demanding fans, and their demanding team owner George Steinbrenner looking for this club to get back to the World Series. Ripped again, that time into the upper deck, and foul. He's had some swings off Wakefield's knuckleball. In New York, they're looking for the Yankees to restore the luster to a franchise that has not appeared in a World Series since 2001. And for them, that's 2 long years since their 7-game loss to Arizona in 2001. Popped him up. Shallow center. In comes Kepler. He calls everybody off.
And you know what's going through the mind of every single person with a Boston Red Sox uniform on, seeing that fly ball in that part of the ballpark.
Yep, they're thinking about that collision on Monday night that cost them Johnny Damon to a severe concussion. He was actually knocked unconscious on that play.
And it also cost him Damian Jackson, not able to play tonight. In fact, talking with Damian before the game, he can't even eat right now. He cannot get his mouth open. They have taken x-rays to see if there's anything broken in that jaw. They may have to take some more.
Here's Nick Johnson. 2-on-2 out. Johnson, a .284 hitter with 14 home runs. He was 2 out of 11 in the division series against Minnesota. The Yankees lost that first game, then fired off 3 consecutive wins to trounce the Twins and move on to the ALCS. Wakefield's 1-0 pitch foul back. And Nick Johnson led the Yankees in on-base percentage during the season. He's a patient young hitter. He drew 70 walks. Go back to Mayrick, he was the Yankees' best hitter at that time when he suffered that stress fracture of his right hand, and he'd missed the next 61 games.
That's a concern for them, though, is that he's always had problems with hand injuries.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Top the corner, said Tim McClellan. Fouled away. And, you know, the old saying about the knuckleball when you talk to hitters, especially those who know what they're looking at and know how to hit it effectively, is if it's high, let it fly. If it's low, let it go.
Just like if you were playing slow pitch softball. But right along with that, even if it's high, if it's a good one, you're not going to hit it anyway. Pick one that's high, it's got a little rotation that's not going to move as much.
Wakefield not bashful about throwing a high knuckleball. The 1-2 pitch. Down and in. 2-2.
So tough to have the mentality to be a knuckleball pitcher. As a power pitcher like Mike Mussina or Roger Clemens, you get 2 strikes on somebody, you can reach back and get a little bit extra. That doesn't help when you're trying to get that knuckleball to move and not have any rotation.
Yeah, the harder you throw it, the less effective it is. That one skips over first, fair ball. Bobbled by Millar, but he has plenty of time to get Johnson. So both Wakefield and Mussina put 2 men on in the 2nd inning, but they escaped without giving up a run. Mike Mussina, the Moose, heading back to the hill here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, trying to get the Yankees back to the World Series. They're attempting to win the World Series for the 27th time. He's been terrific for them tonight. October night here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with him. As we head on to the 3rd inning, it is scoreless between the Red Sox and the 26-time world champion Yankees. Now some keys to this one as the Red Sox and the Yankees battle a 0-0 through 2.
Well, Wakefield has done his part, all right? He's into the 3rd inning now. You know that Grady Little's ball club needs at least 6 innings out of him. Not only is the rotation not in order, but that bullpen is depleted. The problem is they're still not hitting.
Kapler makes a quick out. Gabe Kapler flying to right field, and Rivera for 1 away. Todd Walker up next. Now, during the season, Mussina faced the Red Sox 3 times. He did not have a win or a loss in any of those. 3 no decisions, but he is 16-11 in his career against Boston, and that includes a near perfect game at Fenway Park. That was 2 years ago, and he came within 1 out of getting that perfect game, and he wound up allowing a hit to Carl Everett, who was then with Boston, and that spoiled what would have been an incredible night for him.
Even though he personally didn't win any of the games, the Yankees won 2 out of his 3 starts against Boston.
Walker lifting a fly ball, a lazy pop to Williams. Bernie Williams puts it away. 2 away. MLB.com is your source for the best coverage of Major League Baseball. In addition to getting the latest news and stats, you can have exclusive video and audio of your favorite team. Listen to any team's radio broadcast on Game Day Audio, or watch your game on MLB.tv. This is the place to shop and buy authentic MLB merchandise. You can even drop us an email with your questions about tonight's game at tvquestions@website.mlb.com. We'll repeat that throughout the broadcast this evening. As Bill Miller climbs in 0 for 1, he's grounded out to first. Miller hit just 105 in the division series against Oakland. He was 2 out of 19. So the A's, of course, a great pitching staff, but they tied him up. Were you a little surprised that Boston came back, even though the Oakland A's were without Mark Mulder, and Hudson went down early in one of his starts, and still the Oakland A's blew a 2-0 lead once again and lost that series 3-2?
I think that the Boston Red Sox honestly caught a huge break. First of all, as you mentioned, Mulder not being there. And then Hudson and Zito having to come back on less than normal rest. They weren't near as effective as they would have been. And the reason you have to bring him back is because they lost Mulder. I'm not taking anything away from Boston. There's an intangible that team has, but they got some help in that series.
Yep, they certainly did, and did not swing the bats well at all against the Oakland A's.
They're going to have to swing it to beat these guys, and they know it.
Bases clean, 2 down. Mussina looking for his first strikeout of tonight's game 1. Hit sharply. That's a fair ball. He snuck it just inside third. It caroms back to Matsui. He played it awfully well, and he holds Miller to a single. That one caromed off that side fence, and Matsui was in perfect position.
And he got there in a hurry. He's not a fast runner, but he has a great first step. He doesn't have an above average throwing arm, but he gets rid of the ball quickly, and he is accurate with those throws. So because of it, overall, he's well above average as an outfielder. Toughest part wasn't getting the call right. It was for those umpires getting out of the way.
Here's Nomar Garciaparra. Now, he has known the thrill of hitting one sharply like that off the side fence behind third base at Fenway Park and coming up with nothing more than a base hit, just like we saw from Bill Miller moments ago. A couple of small ballparks in that sense, very intimate. The older parks like Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built, and Fenway Park, the house that Ruth fled or was sold from. That one just missed, and again a groan rising up from the crowd at Yankee Stadium.
These two teams play so many games against each other. The crowd wanted this call. We told you it's going to be a tight zone for the most part. But there's really no home field advantage because of the 19 combined games that they played during the regular season. You know the dimensions.
And the Yankees went 10-9 against Boston. So I don't think there are two teams that could know each other any better than the Yankees and the Red Sox do. Nothing here. Top of the third inning, 2 down, a runner at first for the Red Sox. Hot shot but foul off to the left. The Cubs have taken command of Game 2 of the National League Championship Series moments ago. Sammy Sosa with a 2-run homer to put the Cubs ahead at Wrigley 5-0.
Well, don't forget they had a 4-0 lead last night that they eventually lost 9-8 in extra innings.
But they do have Mark Pryor on the mound tonight.
Yeah, that changes things.
Yeah. So 1-2. Ripped by Garciaparra, but foul. The Red Sox love to say, take a look at his bat, at Garciaparra's bat. And the only nicks you see on it after the swings he takes usually are right on the sweet spot of the bat. He almost never gets a handle hit or a hit off the top of the bat. When he swings, he normally hits it square when he does put it in play. Not this time. He pops it up. Jeter out. He waves off Matsui. Side retired. So the Red Sox get their first hit of this contest on Mike Mussina. It does not come off Garciaparra's bat, however, and one man is left. We're looking for someone to get on the scoreboard at Yankee Stadium. American League Championship Series game number 1. Garciaparra, .342 lifetime hitter at Yankee Stadium, usually hits well here. 1999, though, the Red Sox did not, as they lost 4 games to 1 in the American League Championship Series to the Yankees. They did not hit the way they had hoped. They did a lot of things the way they had hoped in that series.
Well, take a look at what happened with Nomar Garciaparra right down there. That is a big key. That 10 errors committed by the Boston Red Sox, that has to go away to win this series.
Out homered 8-5. Broken bat on a ground ball foul off to the left by Rivera, but the meat end of the bat went flying over the head of Bill Miller, the Red Sox third baseman. That's a little disconcerting because that's awfully sharp. That's what's left of it.
Have you not noticed this happening more and more the last couple of years than ever before? The bat used to just splinter. But what they're doing now, as far as the lacquer is concerned, is what's creating these basic swords flying through the air. They're putting all that lacquer on it so that they can use a lighter wood, and because of that, when it gives away, it doesn't just splinter and kind of flake. It just completely explodes.
And handles are getting thinner and thinner and thinner, aren't they?
That's because, exactly. They want the lightest thing they can get with the most lacquer they can get on it, creating, to me, almost like an aluminum bat effect.
Although the aluminum bats never splinter like that, it's become so dangerous for the guys on the infield. That's in there for strike 3. So Rivera not only lost his prized possession, his bat, which came apart in pieces, he also strikes out.
Well, he got caught. Where's the knuckleball?
Yeah, it's gone.
That's a 78-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, and he's not able to get that new bat off his shoulder. 28 pitches last inning for Wakefield. With a lot of pitchers, Dave, you would be concerned. When you don't put any more effort into it than what Wakefield does to throw that knuckleball, he can throw 200 tonight and without being a problem.
Well, here's a guy with one of the thinnest handled bats in the game and one of the heaviest bats that any hitter in baseball swings. Alfonso Soriano. He loves the whip action that he gets, and look at all the meat on the top end of that bat. But Soriano does a lot of damage with it. 38 home runs, 91 RBIs from a leadoff man.
It might be a heavy bat to begin with, but once he starts his swing, it gets real quick.
Well, he sees the knuckleball rather well. 316 lifetime off of Wakefield, including a pair of home runs. Now he's in a hole, though, 0-2.
Lightning, bottled lightning in the hands and the legs of Alfonso Soriano.
A lot of that lightning in September when he absolutely crushed the ball. He hit 10 home runs in the final month. Well, batting .348, 19 RBIs. The Yankees love that. He got hot at the right time.
Completely fooled on this pitch. Looking knuckleball, spread out, getting a fastball, and yet look at how quick he's able to get his hands up into a position to keep this at bat going.
The 0-2, there's a knuckler and drifted a little bit high. Talking about thin-handled bats, and then we go back and we look at old photographs of Babe Ruth in this ballpark back in the 1920s. He was swinging a tree trunk. There was a telephone pole he held in his hands. A huge piece of wood. No thin handle in those days.
You know, it's almost hard to believe, because I picked up a couple of bats that they said were exactly like what the Babe. And I mean, I wouldn't want to try to swing that thing. And yet he not only did it, but did it as well as anybody that ever did it.
Well, when the Red Sox sold Babe Ruth to these Yankees, his first season here, 1920, he hit 54 home runs. That was more than any other team in baseball. Little one hopper to Walker. On to get Soriano, and 2 gone here in the third. Derek Jeter up next. Thanks for your help, Boston. These are some of the Red Sox who eventually found their way into Yankee pinstripes to help them win world championships. Oh, this is not a friendly rivalry. This is mean-spirited right here. Who else would like to be a winner? Well, Roger does, and he has been since leaving the Boston franchise.
And how about what he said? When, not if, but when he goes into the Hall of Fame, it's going to be pinstripes and that NY on his hat.
Miller racing in, and it pops up. He made the catch. It popped out of the glove, but he caught it on the rebound. Out number 3. Mirabelli was there along with the pitcher Wakefield. Miller calling all the way. It's in the glove, it's out, and it's back in for out number 3. On a lovely night here in New York, it's still nothing. Red Sox third baseman Bill Miller. Nothing routine about this pop-up on the Jeter hit.
Take a look at Wakefield. He makes the call. He's trying to keep the third baseman out of running into the catcher. He made the call that Mirabelli could make the play. An easier play for Bill Mueller, but Wakefield wasn't sure Miller could get there, and that's the reason Miller had problems with it. You know that right, I mean, again, they start thinking about pop-ups, but I start thinking about the graphic we had from '99 when they lost the series because of errors. They almost committed one there.
Manny Ramirez with a count of 0-1. He is grounded out to short tonight. And when you look at Boston's offense, of course, #1 in all of baseball, leading the major leagues in hitting and in runs scored in so many categories. Do you look at Manny Ramirez and say, as he goes in this series, that's how they're going to go?
I think he could get any team going. I think he is the #1 run producer in baseball today. So many things he can do. He scores runs now. He's always driven in runs.
0-2 pitch, rake, but foul quickly into the stands. He got around on that one.
And you know what I love, too, that's happened this year? And I think their manager, Grady Little, in just his second year running the Boston Red Sox club, deserves a lot of credit for it. He played in 154 ball games this year.
Manny, a New York City native by birth, and it's always a thrill for him to come back home. Barely got a glove on it, and so did Mussina. He knocked it toward the hole, and Manny is safe. Mike Mussina, that's a play he can make with anybody from the pitcher's mound. But because he deflected it, Ramirez winds up safe at first.
He takes a bad angle on this ball. Right there, he's got to break back more. You see how he went in the direction of first base? He could have gone back and caught that ball as it was coming down, as opposed to just trying to flag it. You see the angle there? He needed to take off a little bit deeper to begin with. That is the first leadoff hitter tonight that has reached base.
And it's a base hit for Ramirez on the deflection. That sends up David Ortiz, who drew a walk in the second inning. He has never had a hit in his career off Mussina. 0 for 20. And the right-hander starts him with a strike. Now tomorrow in game 2, it'll be Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte. And then the series will shift to Fenway Park in Boston. The Red Sox did not get here to New York until 8:30 yesterday morning after traveling all night from Oakland, California, following their division series game 5 wrap-up win on Monday night.
Remember how Johnny Damon was talking about getting 14 hours sleep and how he needed that? I think the rest of his teammates and manager and coaches are going to sleep pretty good tonight.
Yeah, I think they got about 1/3 of that, maybe, on their trip.
That's why I think the Yankees have to win this ball game. I mean, already so much momentum in that Boston Red Sox clubhouse. It might go through the ceiling if they pick up a victory tonight.
Well, that's right. I mean, emotionally, what a tremendous lift for the Red Sox, who are the underdogs in this series, however slight, to get game 1 in Yankee Stadium against their hated rivals after the long trip, flying all night from Northern California. I mean, they're running on fumes right now as it is, up against Mike Mussina, no less. If they can pull out a win here, how big will that be? And that's up and in for a ball. 1-2 on Ortiz.
Maybe the most hated rival for David Ortiz is the guy on the mound right now. He's changed things a little bit. Look how spread out he has gotten, just trying to put it in play.
Let it go, and it's 2-2.
It's tight. I'm not just guessing when I tell you that. For about 15 years, I tried to get that strike zone of McClellan's to expand, and it don't. Consistent. And that's really all you can ask for.
He's tight, but it's a fair zone.
Absolutely.
To a little number, but fouled away, and Ortiz is barely alive.
This is a key right here. This is an adjustment made by either Ortiz and or the hitting instructor, Ron Papa Jackson. Look how spread out he is. Look how low he is. Look at the difficult pitch there. That's normally a pitch that he would have struck out on. Instead, he gets a piece of it. He gets an opportunity to possibly see another pitch that he can do something with. That's a great lesson for all young hitters. I mean, when a guy, 10 at-bats don't mean anything, but when you don't do anything after 21 at-bats, you got to change something.
And this has turned out to be a heck of an at-bat for David Ortiz, who's been dominated by this pitcher. He was down 0-2, and now it's 3-2.
Most of the time, in fact, a huge percentage of the time, when you get that overhead view, you're going to see that Tim McClellan was right. Now, what do you do, Grady Little? You start the runner? The odds say no. Let's see what Grady says.
He says yes. And a swing and a drive to right field. This one's gone right now. Into the upper deck by David Ortiz, who strikes again. His first career hit off of Mike Mussina. And it comes in a playoff game. In the first game of the American League Championship Series. He didn't just hit it, he killed it. 2-0 Boston.
After hitting just .095 in a divisional series against the Oakland A's, how sweet it must be for David Ortiz right now. Not only to finally do something productive in the postseason, but to finally get to Mike Mussina.
0 for 20 against him in regular season meetings with 13 strikeouts, and then he does this. Mercy. Upper deck shot. Boston up 2-0 in the fourth.
And Mike Mussina, for the third straight hitter, has an 0-2 count. It was 0-2 on Ramirez in the infield hit. It was 0-2 on Ortiz, and in the 2-run homer, it's 0-2 now on Millar. Mike, you're in trouble.
Millar 0 for 1. He's fly to left field. He swung right through that pitch, and down he goes. That's the first man that Mike Mussina has struck out, but he was 0-2 in front of Ortiz, who battled back to go to 3-2 in what is so far the at-bat of this series.
The adjustment that he made from at-bat to at-bat is the difference in this ball game. David Ortiz deserves credit for making that happen.
What a year he's had for the Red Sox. A lot of them believe he's their MVP. Not Garciaparra, not Pedro, not anybody else except David Ortiz. And who would have predicted that when the season started at Fenway Park?
I hear the same thing. And, you know, the players talk about his leadership and what he's brought to that club. But when you only play 128 games and the majority of them are not in the field, I have a hard time giving my MVP award to that guy. I thought Nomar would have won the league's MVP until he just had that horrible month of September.
Yep, he did spin at the very end. The batter, Trot Nixon, he drew a walk in the second inning. Well, the Red Sox may be playing on fumes, but that one was a jetliner onto right field. Both engines blaring by David Ortiz. Hit hard, a base hit into the alley by Nixon. Rivera rushes over to cut it off, and it's a single for Trot Nixon. There have been some very good Red Sox swings in this inning. Well, for our viewers in Latin America, after an impressive rookie season, Sabora Espanyol returns. Join Salinas Taribo as she co-hosts this fast-paced show with the biggest Latin-born players in the major leagues. Sabora mixes in highlights, player lifestyles, popular music from Sony recording artists, and a lot more. Check your local listings for times in your country. Doug Mirabelli now, he's 0 for 1. Having hit a comebacker to the hill. Knocked down by Posada. The Red Sox have jumped in front 2-0 on the homer by Ortiz.
If you're going to get to Mike Mussina, most of the time it will be left-handed hitters that do it. They hit just under 270 on the year, where right-handers hit only 226. You take Veritek out, who can swing from the left side. You add Mirabelli from the right. You take Damon from the left side, and you add Kapler. You would think it would be even more of an advantage for the New York Yankees tonight. But there's an intangible. And what it is, I don't think anybody, I don't think they really know, to that team this year that has gotten them to where they're at and just might get them beyond.
Starting to wear down Mussina here. Just 1 out in the 4th. He's already thrown 73 pitches. Nixon on at first. Fouled away by Mirabelli.
Let's go back to that at bat for David Ortiz and the adjustment that he made. Take a look at his pitch. This would have been another strikeout. Breaking ball in the dirt. Look how far out in front. But look how low he was to begin with it. That's a huge man. Look how low he is again. Now all of a sudden he gets a mistake. 3-2 count. The runner was going outer half of the plate, right where Ortiz likes it. He knew it right from the beginning.
One out and the pitch. Check swing and that missed the corner. You're talking about Varitek and Mirabelli, and the fact that when Tim Wakefield pitches, virtually every one of his starts the last couple of years, it has been this man, Doug Mirabelli, catching him. And Varitek, who is far better offensively, has a lot more power, a high batting average, and a lot more RBIs. He has to sit. But Varitek may not mind it tonight. He's just 2 out of 36 lifetime off Mussina. Swing and a miss for strike 3, and Mirabelli heads to the bench. That's the second K in the inning by the Moose.
But they're doing what their plan of attack was tonight, which is working that pitch count and trying to get Mike Mussina out of this ball game. With the exception of Mariano Rivera, they don't care who they face coming out of the Yankee bullpen. They feel like they've got a chance to get to him more so than Mussina.
76 pitches. And he's been out of the strike zone more than he needs to be tonight. That's up high, ball 1 on Kepler, who is flied to right field, 0 for 1. Kepler getting the start in center field for Johnny Damon, the Red Sox everyday leadoff man and the normal center fielder, but he's out with that severe concussion. Although he is here in New York tonight, and he is with the Boston Red Sox. He's been in their dugout and in their clubhouse this evening. Kind of begs the question, why? Johnny Damon needs rest. Johnny Damon needs to rest that aching head of his.
You know why he's here? Because he chartered a private plane himself to get here.
No kidding.
Yes. He flew himself and the trainer here on his own expense to be with his ball club. That was not by design from the team doctor. The owner of the Boston Red Sox provided his plane to fly Johnny back from Oakland to Boston to be looked at, and then Johnny took it from there.
That's that man, John Henry, primary owner of the Red Sox, former owner of the Florida Marlins, who are also in the playoffs and are down, by the way, 7-0 in the 3rd inning of the Cubs tonight. The pitch inside, a little bit low, and the count 2-2. Damian Jackson also out with an aching jaw right now after that vicious collision with Johnny Damon on Monday. Damon got the worst of it. He left the game in an ambulance. But he's here tonight. That shows you a whole lot of courage.
A grade 2 concussion. Hard to believe there could be a concussion more serious than that, but I guess grade 3 is.
Swing and a miss, and Mussina strikes out the side. But he could not get David Ortiz, who takes him out of the ballpark for the first time in Ortiz's career on a swing into the upper deck at Yankee Stadium. And after 3.5, it's the Red Sox 2 and the Yankees nothing in game 1. Game 2 coming up tomorrow night here from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx at 8 o'clock. It'll be Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte, and the renewal of the greatest rivalry in sports, the Red Sox and the Yankees in the American League Championship Series. It does not get any better than this. Major League Baseball in October from the stadium. Lowe against Pettitte. Andy Pettitte may be in the twilight of his Yankee career. He'll be available next year as a free agent, perhaps. And Derek Lowe coming off a dramatic victory the other night, a closing performance to end that series against the Oakland A's in game 5. Now on the topic of game 2, how about this? The Cubs blowing out the Marlins, at least early, 8-0.
They're blowing them out because, like you said earlier, that's Mark Pryor on the mound. I mean, you give him 8 runs, and most of the time he's going to win 4 games for you, let alone just the one tonight.
Get out of the University of Southern California has been dazzling this year. Giambi in the box. He is 0 for 1. Big left-hand hitter is grounded out to second base. Is Pryor your Cy Young Award winner?
No, not when you're perfect, as Eric Gagne was. Any other time, yeah.
Mirabelli makes the catch up the third base line. He went a long way to get that one. And Giambi is 0 for 2. A lot of these Red Sox going with that shaved head as we look at the performances so far from the starters tonight, especially in the category of walks. Mussina has been a little bit shaky.
Well, you look for that to be the difference, but Dave, you look for those numbers to be the other way around. Instead, Wakefield with command of that get-over knuckleball that he's throwing on the first pitch to most of these Yankee hitters. He gets ahead. We've seen more fastball. We've seen more curveball than what the Yankees were used to seeing off of him.
Outside on Bernie Williams, the thing to watch for is if he starts to bounce some of those knucklers, or if they start to dance and fade away and miss the strike zone, and he walks a couple of hitters. Because knuckleballers, when they lose it fast. They can get it back just as fast, but there's not a lot of wind tonight. Little light breeze, but nothing gusty, nothing out of line.
But if it changes, particularly if it cools off, holding a baseball to a knuckleball pitcher a lot of times feels like you're trying to throw a cue ball.
The 2-0 is in there for a called strike. Bernie Williams, the switch hitter from Puerto Rico. Played with injuries throughout the season. His batting average fell from .333 to .263 this year. That's the largest drop of any American League hitter with 400 at bats. He flies this one deep to right, but Nixon is there and makes the catch right before the warning track. Bernie just missed one, and that's out number 2. That'll bring up Posada with the bases empty. And the Red Sox in front 2-0.
I think Bernie thought he got it. Look at this. I mean, that's that little Barry Bonds, Reggie Jackson kind of October walk there, and then whoops.
Posada raked a single in the second inning. He's 1 for 1. So Bernie comes up a little bit shy. And the Yankees have managed just a couple of hits so far, a pair of singles, and those came back to back in the second inning. That's all they have off Wakefield.
Even though Bernie took the 2-0 pitch, Posada might look for a 2-0 fastball here. Wakefield's throwing a lot of them.
On the infield, caught out of the air by Garciaparra. And a brisk inning for Wakefield. The Yankees are knuckling under tonight, at least so far. He gets the 1-2-3. We move to the 5th. It's Boston up 2-0 in game 1. Lady Liberty holding it high here in New York City, where it's game 1 of the American League Championship Series inside Yankee Stadium. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you. Beautiful sight there, and a beautiful sight inside too. But the Red Sox have a 2-0 lead over the Yankees as we go to the 5th inning. And Mike Mussina was ripped for a 2-run homer by Dave Ortiz in the 4th. David Ortiz with his big bat, which has led the Red Sox down a big stretch drive and into the playoffs. And he comes up with a key hit so far. Todd Walker now, he's 0 for 2.
There's no way you would have predicted that through 4 innings, Mike Mussina would have thrown 21 more pitches than the opposing mound opponent, Tim Wakefield.
Down a little bit low. He's falling behind consistently.
Well, he's getting frustrated with that consistent tight zone. And he's been around for a long time, 34 years of age. Joe Torre's upset, and El Stottlemyre trying to support their pitcher. Mussina doesn't show a whole lot of emotion on the mound, but visibly, you're exactly right. He's upset.
Walker's grounded to second, fly to center field. Swinging a high fly ball along the right field line, hugging the foul pole, and that is going to be foul. Just to the right. of the pole. And now here comes Grady Little flying out of his dugout. He thinks Angel Hernandez may have missed the call. Now they're going to reverse it, and that will be a home run. Home plate umpire Tim McClellan says it's gone, and it's 3-0 Boston. He said it was gone. A fair ball. He overruled the umpire. Tim McClellan overruling Angel Hernandez's call, and it's 3-0 Boston.
Get it right. That has been the theme all year long by Major League Baseball and Major League umpires. We have seen more of these conferences this year than in any 2 years I can ever remember combined, because they have been asked. You need to be a team, just like the players on the field. You should be the same way. If you see one of your teammates make a mistake, you have to be honest and tell him that to get the call right.
Little conference here as McClellan explains his ruling to Yankee manager Joe Torre. Let's take another look.
Clearly hit off the pole. Again, outstanding on the job of Tim McClellan to get the call right. I was one of the most surprised people, honestly, to see Angel Hernandez, who got the call wrong down the right field line, to be named to umpiring a postseason series.
You see a fan reaching out, not sure if the fan touched it or not, and whether it hit his hand or struck the foul pole, but if it hits the pole on the fly, it's gone. That's exactly what happened. McClellan saw that, ruled it a home run, overruling Angel Hernandez. The fascinating thing to me is the reason we have postseason umpires on the left and right field lines is to get calls like that correct in the first place. That's why we've added them. In any event, give Walker his 4th postseason home run. Swinging a fly deep to left center, off the bat of Bill Miller, backing up Williams. What a play, right up and into the fence. He made the catch. Bernie Williams taking away an extra base hit. A long running catch by the smooth center fielder.
Nobody knows that part of this ballpark better than Bernie Williams does. He knew exactly how far he had to go. He knew the fence was getting close, but he also knew that Mike Mussina was getting towards the end of his night if he's not able to make that play. Bernie Williams is a man on a mission right now. We talked about how they lost and were embarrassed in a sloppily played game in Game 1 of the division series. A ball was hit to Bernie that got by him that nobody thought should have. It hadn't in the past, but it did. He was embarrassed, and he's out to prove a point that it won't happen again.
The Yankees were embarrassed in Game 1 against a Minnesota Twins team they didn't lose to all year, that they had really kicked the stuffing out of. But the Red Sox, this is a different animal. The Red Sox are very capable of beating the Yankees and sweeping them in this series if New York is not careful. With this offense, which has rung up runs in historic proportions, that's a different kind of story than the Minnesota Twins getting out in front of you 1-0. And Torre knows it.
I thought that was a great move on the part of Mel Stottlemyre. You've seen him visibly upset at the lack of strikes being called. He got mad at Todd Walker during that at bat. We saw him step off in frustration. He gave up a homer. He almost gave up another home run there. And before the damage gets any worse, Stottlemyre going out there with the respect he commands, try to get things settled down for his starting pitcher.
Once again, though, Mussina falling behind a hitter. 2-1 on Garciaparra, who has flied out and popped up. He's 0 for 2. Fouled right there at the dish. 2-2. Now you go back over the last couple of innings. In the 4th, Mussina gave up the leadoff hit to Manny Ramirez, then the 2-run homer by Ortiz. He gave up another single in the inning as well. Now he's allowed a home run and a fly ball that went all the way to the fence in center field here in the 5th. So the Red Sox are starting to reach him. They've out-hit the Yankees 5-2. Garciaparra does not. He comes up empty on that swing for strike 3.
Get him back on track. Get refocused. Go back to doing what you do well. Take a look at the grip. See the split-fingered fastball? That is something new that he has added. Omar Garciaparra, you could just see the grimace in his face as if to say, what was that? This guy didn't used to throw that pitch.
Roger Clemens. She chats there with the coaching staff. Bill Stottlemyre.
I think what happened, he just came out of the clubhouse where he got an opportunity to watch the replay as we had an opportunity to pass it along to our fans as to what happened there. And that will be the last time anybody from the New York Yankees dugout complains to the home plate umpire about that call.
Base is empty here, 2 out. It is 3-0 Boston in game 1. They've hit 2 big flies off Mussina. Manny Ramirez hit 37 of them during the regular season. Manny has said as a kid growing up in nearby Washington Heights here in New York, he could see the stadium lights from Yankee Stadium from his front yard, and he dreamed of playing for the Yankees. Now he's trying to beat him. A twisting fly deep to right. Rivera back at the wall, leaps, he can't get it. It is gone. Another home run for Boston. That's their 3rd of the night. 4-0 the Red Sox. That one just scraping the backside of the right field fence. It barely snuck out of here. But Manny gets one. And Boston has opened up a 4-0 lead.
This has to remind Joe Torre of a ball game played right here between these 2 teams on July 4th, in which the Boston Red Sox had their way, hitting 7 home runs in that ball game. Even though this lineup is not at 100% because Varitek's not there, Johnny Damon's not there, partner, there's still a lot there.
David Ortiz, the man who started it, he rips that one down the line, but a foul ball. But another one hard hits. Go back to the 4th inning with a man on. Ramirez having singled. Ortiz stepped in. He wound up with a 2-run homer, and now after a homer by Walker in this inning, Manny goes yard off Mike Mussina.
That's the one part of this ballpark where as a pitcher, when you hear it hit and you go, that's got a chance. Well, if it's got a chance to where it says 314, it's gone.
Number, swinging bunt, fair ball. Posada out from behind there. Slings it on to retire Ortiz for the first time tonight. But Mussina gives up 2 home runs. Walker gets him. And then Manny Ramirez gets him. And so the Red Sox, who hit 238 home runs during the regular season, a big, big weapon for them. Hit 2 in this inning, in inning number 5. We go to the last half of the 5th. It is 4-0, the Red Sox. Last half of the 5th inning coming up from Yankee Stadium. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien. 4-0. The Red Sox have the lead in ALCS game number 1. A couple of funny guys here. Robin Williams on your right. Billy Crystal, a huge Yankee fan there on your left. Robin Williams lives and dies with the Giants of San Francisco. He did some dying in that Marlins series.
He's hurting inside right now. And just looking at those 2 guys and knowing they would be here, I think about the other playoff game going on now that we're down to the final 4. I mean, you know, Bill Murray, another hilarious guy, has got his attention on that scoreboard.
A great friend of yours and a huge Cubs fan. They don't come any bigger than him. Bill Murray, 8-0 the Cubs in the 5th inning in game 2 against the Marlins. Matsui 1-for-1 with a base hit. Denied a hit here, and a terrific play by Walker. Fine stop, round number 1. He covered the hole quickly. Aaron Boone up next.
I mean, you don't expect this out of, first of all, the Boston Red Sox as a whole defensively, but even then, Todd Walker. I mean, he's a guy that normally Damian Jackson goes in for late in the ball game to play defense for, to protect the lead. I don't think you'll see that tonight. I doubt if Damian Jackson's available either.
It's because he was involved in that vicious collision that caused the concussion to Johnny Damon on Monday night. Aaron Boone is 0-for-1. He's flying to center. I thought what was fascinating about the collision, which was one of the scariest plays I've ever seen in baseball. I thought both of those guys were seriously hurt. Turned out a grade 2 concussion, which is serious for Johnny Damon. He had to spend the night in a hospital.
Yeah, but no skull fracture and a lot of the other things that could have happened. You're right.
And the CAT scan and the X-rays and no fracture, thank goodness. 1-1 fly to center field and Kapler to get underneath it. Johnny Damon stand in. And there are 2 down. Fascinating thing about the collision as we go back to Monday night. Jackson said, I never call for the ball when I'm going back into the outfield. I wait for the center fielder to call me off and then I peel away. That never happened, he said. And that's what resulted.
It's so loud in these ballparks, particularly this time of the year, that even if a center fielder were to yell, I don't know that in that part of the ballpark where you're even as far away from the fans as you could possibly be, that you could hear him.
Nick Johnson 0 for 1. Varitek may be getting ready to enter this ball game. The regular Red Sox catcher, Jason Varitek.
Got to be careful, though.
4-0.
We mentioned Johnny Damon not available. Damian Jackson not available. You bring Varitek in. I mean, that's your second catcher. If he were to get hurt, where do you go to? What do you do? All that's left on Grady Little's bench is Dave McCarty and Lou Merloni. They are extremely short-handed tonight, not only on the bench, but as far as the rotation, but the bullpen. And yet they've got the lead.
Down to get it, Walker. Another nice play. And that's 11 straight retired by Tim Wakefield. So if the Yankees are waiting for that knuckleball to stop fluttering, they may be waiting all night. It may cost them game 1. We are midway through here, 4-0, Boston in front. City that never sleeps will be up late tonight. The Red Sox ahead 4-0. We're getting ready for the 6th inning here in New York City. American League Championship Series, game number 1 from Yankee Stadium. And Kevin Millar going after the first pitch, pokes it up the middle. Soriano lunging, off balance throw, bobbled at first by Johnson, and the runner is safe. Millar is on with a single, but a marvelous effort by Soriano.
There are tough plays at first base to come up with on short hops, and then there are plays like this. Nick Johnson has to make this play. He defensively is the best that the New York Yankees can put out there. That's just a little in between short hop, but by bringing the glove back to his body, the ball came up even higher. Get your glove out front. Get it out there as far as you can. You come up with it on a shorter hop. You got the big web. That's a play that he should have made, and he did not. What an effort by Soriano.
If he makes the play at first base, Millar is out. Instead, he has a single. Safe at first. That brings up Trot Nixon.
The game of baseball, as much as it stays the same, has changed in a lot of ways. We know that this is the live ball era, and it's all about home runs and the records that are being broke. But another change has been the most important position defensively on a field these days is not up the middle anymore, partner. You and I have talked about it all year. It is at first base. And when you think about the last 2 teams that have won the World Series, it started with Arizona and Mark Grace, Gold Glove. And then last year, the first thing Mike Scioscia talked about was Scott Spiezio and how anything in the dirt he had come up with all year long.
I think if Spiezio played there on an everyday basis, occasionally he's over at third, but if he's first baseman full-time, he's a Gold Glover. He's marvelous there.
JT Snow didn't hurt the San Francisco Giants any. And you go back to the Yankees when they were winning all those World Series. Well, Tino Martinez, very underrated. Well above average defensively at that key position.
A couple of Yankee starters there, Wells and Pettit, know the value of a good first baseman with soft hands. Nixon tonight has walked and singled. Popped it up, and a play for the captain, Derek Jeter. 1 down. This game is being seen live around the world by United States servicemen and women and their families through the facilities of the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
And we both salute every single one of you men and women. Thank you.
In indeed. And activity now in the Yankee bullpen. Again, Felix Heredia, the left-hander, starting to loosen up. The Red Sox with 7 hits off Mussina. Big part of his career has been made against the Red Sox. He's been terrific against them since he broke in with the Baltimore Orioles. Mirabelli has grounded out to the pitcher. He's also struck out.
Well, another thing that changes this time of the year, right along with the pressure of postseason, is the days in between starts. And in fairness to Mike Mussina, he has had 7 days between his last start and this one. You get a little bit out of sync sometimes, and that has to be the case tonight with the walks and home runs allowed.
When you look at a series like this, to put Mike Mussina's career into perspective, the Red Sox also get Arroyo and Suppan going in their bullpen. But Mike Mussina has been a very, very good pitcher throughout his career. But there's a thin line between a great pitcher, a Hall of Fame kind of a pitcher, and a guy who is just outstanding, but maybe not great. Jeter can't reach it. It's a base hit from Mirabelli. Second hit in the inning for Boston. So they started hitting Mussina in the 4th inning and 3 hits in that inning. He had 2 home runs off him in the 5th, 2 singles here in the 6th.
Well, we're seeing some rust on the part of him and his location. We saw a play that Johnson should have made. And now there's a ball that Derek Jeter just simply didn't get down in time for. He got to the ball. He actually dove over that ground ball. They're just a little out of sync. There it is. His glove's just too high. He was more than extended enough to make that play.
How about that shoulder? That's the shoulder he dislocated. That left shoulder on a collision over there at third base. A high fly center field backing up Williams. Millar will stay put at second base, and that's out number 2 as Kapler flies out. MLB.com is your source for the best coverage of Major League Baseball. In addition to getting the latest news and stats, you can have exclusive video and audio of your favorite team. Listen to any team's radio broadcast on Game Day Audio or watch games on MLB.tv. This is the place to shop and buy authentic MLB merchandise. You can even drop us an email with your questions about tonight's game at tvquestions@website.mlb.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to have a pitching change as Joe Torre is out to the mound. So he'll bring on Heredia right here with Todd Walker about to swing, and that's it for Mike the Moose Mussina. He is lifted and far too early for the Yankee fans' taste to. So the little southpaw comes on, and we'll be back in a moment. Here in the 6th inning of ALCS game number 1, the Red Sox already up 4-0. And with 2 down, they have runners at first and second, and Todd Walker inside the batter's box facing the left-hander Heredia. Fouled back for strike 1. Yankee pitchers have so far allowed just 10 postseason runs here in October. Mike Mussina has surrendered 7 of those. So he gives way to Heredia. Mussina went just 5 2/3. On a night the Yankees really needed him. He allowed 8 hits and 4 runs. The 2 men on base belong to him. He also walked 2 men.
Who did the Cincinnati Reds finish the season with? Did they have any players?
I don't think there was anybody left. They were bringing people out of the stands.
They gave up Heredia. He was claimed off waivers. He's been terrific here. The Yankees also picked up Gabe White. They picked up Aaron Boone from the team in Cincinnati.
Joe Torre telling us before tonight's game he really likes Heredia's live arm this late in the season. Johnson got handcuffed. He'll take it himself, and he outraces Walker for out number 3. The Red Sox do not score. They strand 2 men, but Wakefield has himself a 4-0 lead, and he's no longer competing against Mike Mussina. Joe Torre has lifted him here in game number 1. The Red Sox up 4-0. The ALCS is underway, and the 4 train is also underway on its way to Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Leaving the ballpark on that effort, it is 4-0 Boston, and 3 of their big flies have left Yankee Stadium as well. They tattooed Mike Mussina a bit, and it's 4-0. The Red Sox in control, and the Chicago Cubs are in complete command of their game. Game 2 against the Florida Marlins in the 5th inning. Sammy Sosa has homered in that contest.
I'm just thinking about baseball and what an exciting year it's been. How much more exciting can it get than having a postseason game at Wrigley and also one at Yankee Stadium on the same night?
Great point.
And guess what? We're going to Fenway from here.
First 2 games here in the Bronx. Game 2 tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. That'll be Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte. Tim Wakefield this year at Yankee Stadium has just been tremendous. A 159 earned run average. So he loves the fact there are playoff games at Yankee Stadium too. Popped up back toward the screen. And Belli with a sliding effort. It's on top of the net. But the Red Sox certainly don't look punchy from a long flight from the West Coast, which got them into town into New York at 8:30 yesterday morning. They look pretty spry. They're making all the plays. And all smiles too with a 4-0 lead.
It's got to help them knowing that Red Sox nation is here supporting them as well. What is it? The nation versus the empire? Is that how they build this series?
Yeah, the evil empire, as Red Sox president Larry Lucchino referred to the Yankees in the spring. Popped up the center. Kapler, plenty of time to get there. 1 down in the 6th. And for our viewers in Latin America, after an impressive rookie season, Sabora Espanol returns. Joins Salinas Toriobo as she co-hosts this fast-paced show with the biggest Latin-born players in the major leagues. Sabor mixes in highlights, player lifestyles, and a lot more. Candid interviews. Rick, all in Spanish. Caliente.
Tu comprende?
Check your local listings for the time in your country. In there for a strike on Alfonso Soriano. He has flied to right field and grounded out. There's some of those Red Sox fans are at the moment getting along with their
but not all of them do.
Their rivals. No, isn't that the truth?
I mean, they could book this as a pay-per-view WWF wrestling match, you know, during the course of these ball games. What's he doing here?
He took a wrong turn. That's a called strike and 1 and 2 on Soriano.
You didn't even comment on that Spanish I dropped on you there. I actually learned that over in the Dominican Republic, where Alfonso Soriano is from.
Very smooth. Very smooth.
What did you say to me in Japanese?
I actually said good morning to you. I said Ohio gozaimasu. That's good morning.
Gracias.
That's all I know too. Swung on and missed, and Soriano will head to the dugout. He strikes out 0 for 3. And of the first 4 Yankee hitters tonight, not a base runner among them.
And not a complete game among any of the 33 starts for Tim Wakefield this year, but he certainly looks to be on track for that. We saw activity in the bullpen in the last inning for Grady Little, but to me that was just Arroyo and Jeff Suppan getting some work in, because they figured that bullpen's going to get busy before the night's over with. Those 2 guys are long guys. They got to get their work out of the way.
Here's Jeter, 0 for 2 tonight. He's popped up twice. Now, if the Yankees believe, and most teams did during the regular season, that if you could get to the Boston bullpen, you had a good chance to win the game. Well, they may be mistaken here in October, where the Red Sox pen has been terrific, and so has Tim Wakefield tonight. The Yankees don't have a base runner against the right-hander since the 2nd inning. You got the line out of Jeter there, and he is rolling along inside the Bronx. 4-0 Boston. This copyrighted telecast is the property of the Office of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball and is intended for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publications, reproductions, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited.
That was ball 1 to Bill Miller.
Thank you, partner. Thanks for the pick-me-up.
There's a guy that can pick you up. Steve Palermo right in the middle of that screen. Just an outstanding former umpire.
Yes, indeed. And Bob Dupé was the gentleman who was right. There he is in the glasses, the president of Major League Baseball.
See, you know all the big guys. I knew his name. I just never met the gentleman.
Very nice man. Had a chance to interview Bob a couple of times this season. Quite a gentleman. And he gets great seats. Bill Miller tonight, 1 for 3. He singled in inning number 3.
And I love the fact that baseball doesn't forget the tradition and how important it is that the players that played and the umpires that played to still be around. Speaking of umpires, we mentioned Steve Palermo. Most of us know the story about him, how down in Texas he came to the rescue of a waitress who was being robbed at gunpoint. He came out of the restaurant to help her, and he did, but in the process was shot in the back. And because of that, I mean, he still gets around fairly well, but he's not able to umpire anymore because of the paralysis he had from the waist down. But what a wonderful, wonderful man.
It's a great story. Some believed he'd never walk again. Great to have him here tonight. A pitching change as Heredia is lifted by Yankee manager Joe Torre. So they'll bring on the right-hander, and we'll be back in just a moment. Boston with a 4-0 lead here as we give you a look at the Red Sox box score. And the big hits, obviously, the home runs by Walker, Manny Ramirez, Ortiz with a 2-run shot into the upper deck. All of those off Mussina. Boston has hit 11 home runs this postseason. Their opponents have been held to 1. And so the Red Sox are in command here. Omar Garciaparra, the batter, with 1 down, and Jeff Nelson comes out of the bullpen as it's fought off foul for strike. 0-1 on Garciaparra.
We've all heard how the toughest thing in sports is to hit a baseball. And you say, well, how can that be? I mean, he's only 60 feet 6 inches away. But look at the different landing spots that we have had in just the ball game tonight. Jeff Nelson way over there on the third base side. You can see how the release point is out in here somewhere, shooting back at you. Look at all 3 of them there. Look at the different angles that they come at you from. And I thought Tony Gwynn said it best a couple of years ago when he talked about what do you focus on as the pitch is coming towards you. He said, I focus on the bill of the cap. I look at the bill of the cap of the pitcher, knowing that eventually his head's going to move and the baseball is going to come basically through that same plane. So that he focuses before he has to really focus to make something happen.
Inside on Garciaparra, the much taller, lankier Nelson, bigger than Mike Mussina or Felix Heredia. 2-2 now. Manny Ramirez up next.
Take a look. Take a look at the focus on the bill of the cap. And then what happened? The head slightly moves over, and that's where the baseball comes from.
Swinging bunt. Posada won't let it roll. He guns. What a play! And snatched right over the head of a streaking Garciaparra by Nick Johnson. That one right over Nomar's helmet. But a bullet throw by Posada, who was not going to wait around for that to roll into a single.
MVP type year all of the way around. I don't think there's any question he's the MVP of this ball club this year because of what he's done to this team in so many different areas. He's helped their team offense by all of the RBIs and home runs. He's helped their team defense. We just saw that. And he's helped their team ERA by the signals that he gives and the job that he has done with this rotation.
He's always there. He has started every single one of their postseason games for 4 years and played in all but 6 innings as the Yankee catcher over that span. Manny Ramirez has gone 2 for 3 off Torre's team tonight. He's grounded out, single, and cracked a home run. He dropped a long, kind of lazy fly ball over the right field fence in the 5th inning off Mussina. Back to inning number 5 and his big fly.
And that's just a routine pop-up in most ballparks. This is not just any ballpark.
Nope, just 314 down the right field line into that corner at Yankee Stadium.
And, you know, I think that's really the reason that Derek Jeter is the line drive type hitter that he is. I think Derek Jeter could have evolved into a Ryne Sandberg type with more power, but it doesn't make sense to try to pull the ball in this ballpark.
Ramirez moved back, and that's something you don't see from Mike Mussina very often. That kind of a thing. And I don't necessarily have to drill a guy to wake him up and move a guy off the plate. There has been some not so subtle criticism about Mussina here in New York about that. An unwillingness to knock a guy down if it has to be done. Little blooper into right field. That'll find a home though on a base hit. Ramirez is 3 for 4. So he's on with 2 down.
Make a little gentleman's wager that there are some people drilled. And there'll be more than one in this series before it's over with.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right as we look at Johnny Damon, who is here tonight, I guess cheering on his teammates. You talk about
look at our camera guy. Who's the first guy they put?
Talk about drilling people. Go right to the rocket.
If he don't hit you, he's going to move you. Pedro Martinez will do exactly the same thing on the other side.
You know, I'd be disappointed in anything less because it's the Red Sox, it's the Yankees, it's October.
And how about that Game 3 matchup with Pedro and the Rocket back home at Fenway, where Roger Clemens started it all.
Yep. Roger Clemens' last start ever at Fenway, if in fact he follows through with his announced plan to retire at the end of the season when the playoffs are done. What do you think about that, Sud? Is there a chance he might come back?
I've said all along that I thought there was, for one reason. He comes back and he has one more normal year. Oh, we got a hit by pitch there. I told you it wouldn't take long.
Did not take long. It took about 3 pitches. And so with the hit batsman, Ramirez down to second, and Ortiz, who got hit on the foot, will take first base. So as he walks off his pain and hears it a bit from the Yankee fans, you think Roger may not be done?
There's only one reason. Obviously his family is going to have to agree that it's okay for him to go back. He said that's the main reason that he was going to shut it down, was to be at home more. But with one more normal year for the Rocket, he becomes number 2 all time, right below his hero, Nolan Ryan. And I don't think either one of those 2 guys will ever be caught. And I think that would be the reason, or reason enough, for him to come back for one more.
The Red Sox trainer out to see if Ortiz is okay. He did make it to first base. Stottlemyre heads out to the mound. There has been some speculation that Roger Clemens may want to play in the Olympics for the United States. And then after that, maybe lash on with another big league ball club that he may have plenty to do yet. So we'll wait and see. In the meantime, here for Boston, Rogers' former team, first and second, 2 down. The Red Sox up 4-0 in the 7th. Millar gets in. He's 1 for 3. Breaking ball in there for strike 1, and so Nelson starts him with something of a wrinkle. Gabe White loosening in the pen for New York.
Certainly getting ready for the next hitter, which is a left-handed hitting Trot Nixon.
Way out in front, Millar, and it's 0-2. Missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 on base and 2 men out for Boston. Red Sox have had 12 men on base in this game. The Yankees just 2. Ground ball deep short. Off the glove of Jeter. Here comes Ramirez. No throw by Matsui. It is 5-0 Boston. An RBI single by Kevin Millar. That's the second time tonight, and granted not an easy play, a very tough play, but it's the second time tonight we've seen Jeter dive and miss one on plays we've seen him make before.
I asked him before the game, I said, how do you feel? He looked at me and he said, why? I said, how's the shoulder? He said, oh, fine. I said, are you 100%? He goes, yeah. Yeah, right. No chance. No chance that he's 100% right now. He comes up with that ball cleanly. He not only has to protect himself because of that arm, but his extension is not what it once was.
Well, he banged up that shoulder badly, dislocated it opening night. It still has not fully recovered. And again, not that that's a play you expect someone to make. Although maybe in Jeter's case you do.
You expect him to knock it down.
Yeah.
And only because we've seen him do it so many times.
Still having trouble with that shoulder. We have a pitching change in New York. With your score 5-0 Boston. And we'll be right back. They're on top 5-0 over the Yankees. Boston may not be done in this inning. The left-hander Gabe White comes out of the bullpen to work against Trot Nixon. The Red Sox with 2 men on and 2 out and another run across have out-hit New York 10-2 in the game. Nixon has one of those, a 4th inning single. They let that one pass and it's through there for a strike.
Well, this is the part of the Yankee bullpen that hitting coach Ron Jackson says they can get to. They already have by putting a run up on the board here against Nelson. And he thinks that's the key to this whole series. If we can get the Musinas and the Pettits and the Clemens and the David Wells out before they hand the baton to Mariano Rivera, we can beat them.
Base hit right field. Ortiz into third. And he's going to put on the brakes. He heads on back. Rivera came charging to scoop it up, but the bases are loaded for Boston. Another hit for Trot Nixon, his 2nd tonight. He did not test the runner at third. Ortiz did not test Rivera there.
Outstanding third base coaching, first of all, by Cubbage. But take a look at what goes on at second base. Take a look at Kevin Millar paying attention, not just taking it for granted that with 2 outs, you're going to send the runner. He would have been out by 60 feet. Cubbage put up the stop sign, and Millar paid attention, not running the Sox out of the inning.
Doug Mirabelli, who has gone 1 for 3 in the game. He is in the box here and a chance to put this game maybe out of reach for the Red Sox. That's across for strike 1. And Mirabelli primarily in the game because he is Tim Wakefield's regular catcher. He's his caddy. But he can do a lot of damage right now. Bases jammed and 2 away in the 7th. He flicks that one foul. 0-2. Well, the Red Sox accomplished 1 goal tonight. Aside from the 5 runs, they did get into the Yankee bullpen by knocking Mike Mussina out of the contest after just 5 2/3. He surrendered 4 runs, 8 hits, walked 2.
Well, he talked about Mike Mussina not being the overpowering pitcher that he has been before and that he was earlier in the season this year. That game plan worked for Ron Jackson tonight.
0-2. Got a piece of it. Now remember how the year started for Mussina. Won his first 7 decisions. And he was off like a freight train. Wound up with a 17-8 record.
Well, that whole starting rotation. The team started 18-3, but their starters were a perfect 16-0 to begin this year.
Remarkable. One and 2. The Cubs have carried a 12-2 lead into the 7th over the Florida Marlins in Game 2 of the NLCS at Wrigley Field. Looks like the Cubs are going to even up that series in 1 game apiece, going to Miami for Game 3. Liner toward the middle, but Soriano cradles it. The fielder's choice retires the side, so the Red Sox have to settle for the 1 run. They get nothing after loading the bases. Right now, we're going to send it to public address announcer, the venerable Bob Shepard, inside Yankee Stadium.
Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. Will you please rise and direct your attention now to the microphone behind home plate and welcome world-renowned Irish tenor.
The knuckleball is often called a mystery pitch. Well, tonight in ALCS Game 1, the New York Yankees would not argue. Tim Wakefield has mystified the Yankee hitters. He has set down 14 consecutive batters. They haven't had a base runner since the second inning. He's been that good, Rick.
He's a guy that during the regular season struck out 169 guys, but he changed his plan of attack tonight, which you have to when a team sees as much of you as these two teams do each other. More curveballs. There's a good little fastball there. A lot of different looks that these Yankees haven't figured out yet.
Well, we'll see if this giant crowd at Yankee Stadium can rile up the Yankee bats. Giambi tonight has grounded out and popped up. He's followed by Bernie Williams and then Jorge Posada. Giambi just .222 in the postseason, and not a lot of thunder yet. In tight around the knees. 2-1. You mentioned all those games the Red Sox and the Yankees played 19 times during the season. They're the baseball version of the Hatfields and the McCoys. One of the great feuds in sports history. So far, the Red Sox have owned this gunfight 5-0. This is just the second 3-ball count from Wakefield tonight, and he's walked a man. That ends a string of 14 straight retired. Now to the Yankee box score.
This shouldn't take long.
That's how long it takes. Posada with one hit. Matsui with one hit. That's all they have.
And both of those were way back in the second inning. In fact, the Yankees haven't had a base runner until right now since that point.
The Red Sox with all sorts of activity in their bullpen. Bernie Williams has flied out twice, 0 for 2. Ball 1.
Here they come. They talk about that 10th man on the field in the game of baseball. Well, there are none stronger than what they can create here in New York when they get an opportunity to win a game.
Fastball that time, and it's 2-0.
As always, a lengthy delay for the 7th inning stretch here at Yankee Stadium. 5 minutes and 53 seconds for Take Me Out to Ball Game and the beautiful rendition of God Bless America.
Well, it was a lovely job of singing the song, and the fans got into it. Seemingly everybody in the ballpark singing, but those long delays get under the skin of the guys in the other dugout. And maybe that delay under the skin of Tim Wakefield. He's walked the first 2 batters after that almost 6-minute delay.
Well, they have a saying that they've had all year long for the Boston Red Sox, and that's cowboy up. Well, they need to cowboy up because we do not want to ever take away what they do here so wonderfully during the 7th inning stretch here at Yankee Stadium. Speaking of wonderful, that is 6 strong innings thrown out there by Tim Wakefield. He did his job. Now it's time for the bullpen.
And that might be a perfect piece of timing from Grady Little. We've been saying it all night. The knuckleball can disappear in a heartbeat. It may have with the back-to-back walks. Little chooses that moment to lift Tim Wakefield, and we'll be back at Yankee Stadium in a moment. In the stands tonight, he won that Oscar for Glory. Tremendous role in that film. Well, trying to urge this Yankee team on the field to a little glory tonight against the Red Sox. We're trying to end the curse of the Bambino. Trying to win a World Series for the first time since 1918, but if they do, it's going to go through Yankee Stadium. Jorge Posada to face Embry here with runners at first and second. Alan Embry, the hard-throwing lefty, coming out of the Boston bullpen. 5-0 the Red Sox here. But as you see, the Red Sox bullpen, much maligned during the regular season, has been dynamite, Rick, so far in the postseason.
Well, in fact, only 2 teams with a higher regular season bullpen ERA than the Boston Red Sox. But there was a revolving door down there for Grady Little, and he thinks he's got the pieces in place.
Giambi and Williams on the bases. Line into right center field. A single for Posada. Maybe more. Down to get it, Kepler. A run is in. Williams is on to third. It's 2 bases for Posada. A run-scoring double for the Yankee catcher, and New York is finally on the scoreboard.
Bring in the left-hander because it really doesn't matter which way Jorge Posada swings the bat. The switch hitter equally effective from both sides. But Embry brought in because the next hitter, Hideki Matsui, was a left-handed hitter. Well, you know what? Posada made him pay before he got to Matsui. You're going to be a little cautious. You see Willie Randolph waving the first runner. Everybody get going. You stay right there. We don't have anybody out yet.
And a base hit here makes this a 2-run game. The batter Matsui tonight, he has singled and grounded out to second.
They know what they're going to see out of Embry, just like you knew you were going to get a knuckleball out of Wakefield. He's going to throw 9 out of 10 fastball.
But Posada had no trouble making the adjustment. We'll see if Matsui adjusts the same way. 2-0. Here comes Wallace, the pitching coach. This might be done as much to gear down Embry a little bit as it is to calm this crowd down, but I don't think the latter is possible.
Well, the obvious has been the result, Dave, that we've seen. He's throwing the fastball up in the zone. Well, that's the result. The reason happens long before that, and normally it's a long stride. Embry is letting this crowd get inside of his body and his mind, and he's jumping at home plate. That's where a pitching coach has to go out and earn his living. You encourage them, but you give them one simple little mechanical thing that they can go to bring the baseball down in the zone. We'll see if it works.
Well, the Red Sox have delivered 13 pitches in this inning. 11 of them have missed the strike zone. And the Yankee fans, they love to rub it in, don't they?
Poor Bill Buckner. Oh, they've got good memories and really a great sense of humor.
Second and third, nobody out. Fly ball left field, deep enough. Manny makes the catch. Here comes Bernie Williams in to score. It's 5-2. Matsui drives in the run with a sacrifice fly. Posada holding at second. Now it's a 3-run margin.
Matsui probably a little bit disappointed. He didn't hit it better than that, but he got a good pitch to hit and he put a good swing on it. He just couldn't quite catch up to the velocity of Alan Embry.
Bernie Williams comes churning in to score.
You want to look for a fastball up and out over the plate, and you can see he was just a little bit late getting to that, as opposed to driving it into the gap like Posada did. He could only get it to the left fielder.
Here's Aaron Boone now. He's flying to center 2 times, 0 for 2.
See, now you can pitch, though. Now that the pitching coach has helped you figure out what was wrong. You can see the previous pitch before that closer to the zone, and that's the first one Embry really has gotten down to where you want to be, around the knees.
Posada at second. Inside too far. Red Sox pitchers digging themselves a hole in this inning. Remember, Giambi and then Bernie Williams walked back-to-back, and that was it for Wakefield. Incidentally, both of the runs on the scoreboard charged to Tim Wakefield and closed the book on the knuckleballer. The 2-0 pitch. Right through there for a strike.
You know, another thing I forgot to mention, he's a little bit deliberate with that strike call. When nothing happened to begin with, this Yankee crowd thought that that was ball 3.
Fly ball, shallow center. Here comes Kepler. Coming in, says he has it, and he's got it. 2 down. Posada remains glued to second. And Embry made a big pitch there on Aaron Boone.
Well, that's what pitching coaches are all about, though. You got to give their interim pitching coach, Dave Wallace, some credit for coming out there, knowing what was wrong with Alan Embry. Embry having the confidence in him to believe it and getting it fixed. Now he's around the strike zone. Now that good velocity that he's got, he can go ahead and let it go, get a little bit of that extra life at the end, which keeps a hitter from doing any major damage. I mean, it's a scary feeling, partner, excuse me, when you're out there on the mound and you feel good, but you can't throw strikes. It's a lot like a hitter that just can't seem to get a hit.
Nick Johnson has grounded out twice. Embry trying to induce the same thing here and get out number 3. The Red Sox bullpen has done a real swift about face for the postseason. The A's had not scored a run on Boston in the last 11 2/3 of that series, in the division series. That's a strike. And the count 1-1.
Well, they still haven't scored a run tonight off the Boston bullpen, but Alan Embry has come in and immediately allowed the 2 runners left on base by Wakefield to touch home plate.
So no hold as Embry allows the runs in, and the score 5-2 Boston. Shot to center. Kepler right there, though, to make the catch. That's the end of the 7th, but the Yankees climb back in the game. They score for the first time tonight. They do it twice. So now it's a 3-run margin. Posada finally coming up with an RBI hit. His double made it 5-1. Matsui adding another with a sacrifice fly. So we go on to the 8th inside the stadium. It's Boston 5 and the Yankees 2. The ancient hostilities will continue tomorrow night inside Yankee Stadium. It'll be American League Championship Series game number 2. The best rivalry in sports. It's the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and on the mound it'll be Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte. Hope you'll join us on Major League Baseball International. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you. As you get a look at that pitching matchup, should be a dandy. Right now 5-2 Boston. As we move on to the 8th inning. Great to have you with us on a very comfortable night, an October evening in Yankee Stadium.
Probably the 2 most important pitchers on either staff going at each other tomorrow night. Derek Lowe coming in that pressure-packed situation, getting a couple of strikeouts to end that 1-run ball game. And, of course, Andy Pettitte with the big win in Game 2 for Joe Torre.
Kepler lifting a high fly deep to right field. Rivera back to the track, now in to make the catch. Gabe White retiring Gabe Kepler. 1 away. Top of the order now will be Todd Walker for Boston. The Red Sox took the lead with a pair of runs in the 4th inning. Until then, it was scoreless. And they got those runs on a David Ortiz home run to the upper deck in right field on Mike Mussina. In the 5th inning, the Red Sox with a couple of more runs on solo home runs by Todd Walker and Manny Ramirez. And the home run, a huge part of the Red Sox record-breaking attack all season long, and it certainly is here in the playoffs now, as they have hit 3 home runs in this game. And Todd Walker has hit 4. That's as many as any Red Sox hitter has ever had in a playoff series. And 3 of those in the division series in a victory over the Oakland A's. 2 of them in 1 game.
Ever. That's pretty good history with this ball club.
Lots and lots of history, but also 4 7th game of the World Series losses for the Red Sox. So it's a marvelous history,
but filled with tragic endings. Like Bucky Dent hung on the Red Sox in 1978 at Fenway Park in that one-game playoff to break all New England's heart. That's in there for a strike on Walker.
Yeah, there's one Yankee coach right there. Great shot, guys, that knows that well. Zim was the manager of that Boston team. Popeye doesn't look too happy.
Not at present. Up the middle, a base hit. Walker on for the second time tonight. He's 2 for 5. But Red Sox fans who were alive that day, that October 1978, know exactly where they were and what they were doing when this happened. That's Don Zimmer, younger version, in the Red Sox dugout as the manager when Bucky Dent's home run sailed over the Green Monster. And the Yankees, who recovered from a big deficit against Zimmer's Red Sox over that summer and into the fall, would go on not only to win that playoff game, but win the World Series.
Mike Torres on the mound then for the Boston Red Sox. Wasn't that long ago, just within the last week or so, that they had the 25th anniversary of that home run.
It's a black day in Red Sox lore, that's for sure.
Kind of a funny story. You know, just a few years ago, Don Zimmer actually rented the house that Bucky Dent owned. And he said the first thing he did was take down all the pictures of Bucky swinging the bat. He didn't want to have to go to sleep at night thinking about that anymore.
Damian Jackson into the ballgame, pinch running now.
Well, that's got to be a huge lift for that team over there to watch their teammate, who's gone through so much in the last couple of days, want to be out there. I didn't really think he was available tonight. He couldn't even open his mouth. He said he could barely, you know, get soup in there just to give him something to get some energy from.
Adrenaline is amazing, isn't it? And that's across for a strike on Bill Miller. Now, you said earlier tonight, after talking with Johnny Damon, I know that you had a long conversation with Jackson and Johnny Damon involved in a terrible collision in Oakland on Monday night, a big concussion, a grade 2 concussion for Johnny Damon. You don't think that he's going to play in this series, huh?
I don't think there's any way that he can heal that quick.
He's still so out of it, and understandably so.
And there's blood in that right eye, and it's swollen to the point to where I don't even know how he could see out of. Look at that. I mean, that's the angle he would have against a pitcher. And you're going to throw him out there against a Roger Clemens or an Andy Pettitte or a David Wells. I don't think that would be in his or the team's best interest.
No, now it becomes a huge safety issue, doesn't it? They got it picked off. Jackson picked off the throw, the tag. Soriano puts it down, and Damian Jackson is out. 2 gone. So they erase that runner.
Well, Gabe Wright guessed White, and Damian Jackson guessed wrong. Watch Johnson come get the ball. All you young first basemen. There he goes. You know it. Now go get it. You go out there. You get the angle. You see the crow hop to the inside part. That leaves an open shot for you to make the throw to whoever's covering second base. See how he's on the inside part of that? Jackson tried to veer at the last second to maybe have the ball brush off his back, but he knew he couldn't get too far out of that line. Another one of the reasons that they prefer left-handed first baseman. That's an easier throw to make. You not only make that throw on pickoff, but also on balls that are hit to you where you try to double somebody up. That's the most important part. It's you get that tag down quicker on pickoff throws.
Miller swings, lifts a high fly routinely into right. And so Gabe White faces only 3 Red Sox hitters in the top of the 8th inning. It's ALCS game number 1. Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Rivera, Soriano, and Jeter will try to add to that Yankee 2-run total so far, but they're down 3. That's our line score so far in game 1 of the American League Championship Series. We are going to the last half of inning number 8. That means the Yankees are batting. Damian Jackson will stay into the ballgame. This is a bit of a surprise to us, given Jackson's condition before the game where he could barely speak. He could not open his mouth. But as we say, adrenaline is a wonderful thing And it's certainly gotten to Jackson. This is a move that Grady Little has made all season long. When he has a lead fairly late in the game, he'll take out Walker and bring Damian Jackson in. He's also brought in a new pitcher, and that's Mike Timlin.
Well, and another thing that team has said all year long, partner, is cowboy up. And what that means is suck it up. Get tougher. Whatever it takes to get it done, that's what you've got to do, and it doesn't matter who's in that position to do it. And Damian Jackson tonight is a perfect example of what this team has done all year long to get here.
Ruben Sierra is going to pinch hit for Juan Rivera. So the veteran is in on the left side to lead off the bottom of the eighth. Joe Torre's team running out of chances. 5-2 the Red Sox. Little rally cap action here inside Yankee Stadium. Soriano and Jeter will follow. That's in there for strike one. We talked about it at the very top of the broadcast. Game one is big, but it's not make or break. The Anaheim Angels won the World Series last year, and they lost the first game of every series they played en route to a world title. But if you're the Boston Red Sox, Rick, and you come in after going 5 games with Oakland, winning in dramatic fashion, you're up against your arch rival, your arch nemesis, and they're building for game one of this series. Game one is huge. Waved at and missed by Sierra, and it's 1-2.
I know what you mean, but I think about what's happened throughout this postseason. The Yankees lost the first game to Minnesota. They come back and win. Boston loses the first 2 to Oakland. They come back and win. Florida loses the first one to San Francisco. I mean, I don't know how to keep going. Chicago lost the first game. They're up 12-3.
Ripped but caught by Millar. Hit right on the screws by Sierra. But that's a noisy out, 1 away.
I'm just going back to count. That is the 5th time that a New York Yankee has lined out in this ball game. I mean, you just put 2 or 3 of those on base, this could be a whole different ball game. They're hitting well, but they're just hitting in tough luck.
Torre headed for the home plate umpire, Tim McClellan. Is Soriano digging in. Now he's asking McClellan about something. McClellan kind of looking out.
It could have something to do with the uniform or the attire of Mike Timlin.
Maybe asking him to remove that necklace. He can do that. Not sure if that's it. Oh, he's looking at the cap. He's examining the cap. Very quick examination. Not much to it. What was that about?
About moisture on that cap. It's not supposed to be there. Well, there are some pitchers that will just simply soak their cap and act like that is sweat that was accumulated while I warmed up in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And a lot of time that moisture will help create a little bit more sink. And you know what Timlin's best pitch is?
He's been going to the brim of that cap.
Little sinker. There it goes.
There he goes again. So you're saying that there are pitchers who will actually dip the brim of that cap right in the water?
The whole cap.
The whole thing, huh?
Then they'll wring it out. Then there'll be just enough on it to create that little moisture you need. I mean, they called it a spitball in the old days. It creates a little tumbling, sinking action. I mean, he might have been checking for pine tar. You could put pine tar in one corner, and then you could put water in the other, and just you can kind of have a little assortment pack up there.
Not to suggest Timlin's done any of those things, but certainly Joe Torre wanted it checked out, and he had his suspicions.
I just explained it. Joe Torre suggested it when he went out and had Timlin checked.
Precisely. Timlin has been a professional baseball player since 1987, so he knows a couple of things.
Well, he's been around, and the league learns a couple of things about you, too. But like you said, it's on. I mean, Joe Torre tried to diffuse the rivalry in our managers' meetings before the game, saying, I think it's more between the owners than it is the players. Well, it just became personal.
2 balls and 2 strikes.
This is where Grady Little and his staff will get together and try to figure out a way to counter that move.
One out, bases clean in the bottom of the 8th. Swung on and missed. He struck him out. He got him to chase the high stuff. And Soriano is 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts.
I think all the way around we're seeing the result of a team that wasn't able to stay sharp during the break. They got home on Sunday night. They took Monday completely off. They worked out a little bit on Tuesday, and then you come out here and you try to deal with the knuckleball. You try to deal with some guys going in the mid-90s.
And so far, Timlin has been a little too slippery for the Yankees. Derek Jeter 0 for 3. He's popped up twice and lined out to third. Takes ball 1. 5 runs on 12 hits for Boston, no errors. For the Yankees, 2 runs, just 3 hits, no errors.
They had so many hitting counts. I think at one time it was 12 or 13 times the count was 1-0 for Yankee hitters, and they weren't able to get anything done.
Popped up. A play from Millar near the stands. He has room and he's got it. It's the 6th time in 8 innings the Yankees have gone down in order. So the Red Sox have the 5 runs and 3 homers, but it's been Boston pitching that has shut them down so far tonight. Jeter is 0 for 4, 5-2 Boston. Major League Baseball International's presentation of the 2003 American League Championship Series has been brought to you by MasterCard. There are some things in life that money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. New York City and getting late. We are on to the 9th inning of ALCS game number 1. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. The Red Sox trying to take game number 1. They have a 5-2 lead. It'll be Garciaparra, Ramirez, and Ortiz. So some serious thunder due up for Boston. And they'll be facing a new pitcher in the right-hander from Cuba, Jose Contreras. He comes out of the Yankee bullpen. Quiet night so far for Nomar. He is 0 for 4. The fastball is in there for strike 1, and so the 9th inning has started. The Yankees have Giambi, Williams, and Posada due up in the bottom of the 9th, so stay right where you are. Cut on and missed by Nomar.
I think the Yankees are probably the only team that wouldn't have Jose Contreras starting a postseason game for him. This guy is nasty, and I mean that as a compliment. Just ask Nomar.
He just ate up one of the best hitters alive and made Nomar 0 for 5.
It took him a while to get going. It took him a while to adjust. He went back and forth to their complex, their minor league complex down in Tampa. But along with one of their roving pitching coaches, one of their overall minor league instructors, Billy Connors, I mean, he has put it back together. He finished terrifically, and you can see the result of all of that work. I mean, they're going to have a good one next year.
Base hit, punch to the right side. First ball swinging by Manny Ramirez. His 4th hit tonight. He is 4 for 5. Here comes David Ortiz, and we take you back to the 4th inning. It's our MasterCard priceless moment. And this priceless moment went all the way to the upper deck.
Nothing new for David Ortiz, and nothing new really for the New York Yankees watching him this year. 6 times he homered during the regular season. Make that 7 on the year against Yankee pitching.
Ortiz, along with a 2-run homer, has been hit by a pitch and walk, so he's been on base 3 times. And if he comes alive, look out, because he certainly did not until his big double in that elimination game, game 3 of their series with Oakland, the division series. Came up with a huge double in the 8th inning. But until that point, he was like 1 for 18. Tonight showing signs that he has gotten his swing back in order. Waved at, missed there. It's 1-1.
I remember Jim Thome earlier in the year talking to him about offensive numbers and production. And he said it's different for a power hitter than it is an average type guy and a run scorer. He said we can get our numbers right back where they're supposed to be with just one good week during the regular season. You can do that with one good game during the postseason.
Called strike, and it's 1-2 on Ortiz. Millar, the next man due up. One out, a runner at first. The Boston Red Sox have not won an American League Championship Series since 1986, when they came back to shock the Angels. Check swing, rolls behind Posada, and Manny Ramirez will move up. He slides in. That one trickled away a little too far for Posada to recover, and now the Red Sox have a man in scoring position with one out.
How about the legs of Manny Ramirez tonight? You can talk about the opposite field home run, but the infield single that got things going for them originally, followed up by the Ortiz home run, hustling down the line to beat the shovel throw from Soriano, and just a perfect read right there. Realizing Contreras' best pitch is that split finger, looking for it in the dirt, getting it, and off and running.
Cut on and missed, and Ortiz whiffs. Second strikeout in the inning by Contreras. And it has gone final at Wrigley Field in Chicago. The Cubs bounce back big time. They've tied the series. The NLCS is knotted at 1, a 12-3 thumping of the Marlins.
I don't know if anybody can beat Mark Prior right now. Florida did finally put something on the board. I'm just not sure if who they were scored off of.
Sammy Sosa did homer in that game. 5 strikeouts, incidentally, while Prior was in the game. He whipped 5.
How about Sammy's home run last night with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th?
Goodness gracious.
That's getting it done. I mean, that is cowboying up as much as it can be done.
And yet the Marlins recovered from that, and they pulled out the victory. Tonight it was the Cubs' turn. So they head back to Miami in a 1-1 tie in the National League Championship.
I think the best team, I'm just talking about the everyday players, without a doubt, is the Florida Marlins. If you haven't had an opportunity to see them play, you've missed something, because Miguel Cabrera, wow. I mean, that's a young Soriano or Vladimir Guerrero in the making.
How about Juan Pierre, this splendid leadoff man? Had over 200 hits during the regular season. The other thing about the Marlins is they're going home to 65,000 plus. They have that 10th man working for them at Pro Player Stadium.
Pudge Rodriguez single-handedly said the San Francisco Giants aren't going to beat us. It's a great story.
One of the great playoff stories I've ever seen. What Pudge Rodriguez did to the Giants. The Red Sox and the Yankees battling it out here tonight at Yankee Stadium.
I mean, we're down to the Final Four. This is the elite of the elite.
And Todd Walker has been lifted from this game, but wound up with a pretty good night. A home run and a base hit. Waved at and missed by Millar. And a count 2-2. But Todd Walker said, hey, no disrespect to the other teams in the playoffs. He said the team that wins this series, Yankees-Red Sox, is going to win the World Series. He said, we're the best 2 teams in baseball. No disrespect to the Cubs and the Marlins, but these are the 2 best in the game. Contreras 2-2. Struck him out, and he struck out the side. 1 man left. But we are heading to the bottom of the 9th inning at Yankee Stadium. The Red Sox have a 3-run lead over the Yankees. It's Giambi, Williams, and Posada coming up. The American League Championship Series continues tomorrow night from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Game 2, it'll be the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees tomorrow at 8 o'clock. The pitching matchup, Derek Lowe against the left-hander Andy Pettitte. Boston trying to carry a 1-0 lead in this best-of-7 series into tomorrow, but the Yankees have other ideas, trying to add to the curse. It'll be Giambi, Williams, and Posada, some heavyweight bats, up against Scott Williamson. He comes out of the Boston pen.
Again, huh? He has been in every single post-game postseason game this year for the Boston Red Sox. He fatigued, though, in Game 5 when he walked the first couple of guys. We'll see what he's got tonight. Location has always been the only problem for the young right-hander.
He tired. Lowe came on and saved him. But Lowe pitches tomorrow. Big shift on here for Jason Giambi, who has grounded out, popped up, walked and scored, and everybody pulled around playing him to pull.
I got to tell you, I was surprised not to see Timlin come back out.
Me too.
He had an easy 1-2-3 inning in the 8th.
He struck out Soriano. He also got Jeter. He overpowered him, but now he's on the bench. Wakefield was terrific tonight, pitching into the 7th inning. He's the star of this one so far. But it's not over yet. The 1-1. Oh, what a cut by Giambi. 1-2.
He's hitting on one leg right now. Rumors of possible knee surgery when the season's over with, but he just continues to chase that high fastball, not making any adjustments with his lower half to get his hands in a position to hit it.
Fouled away, just got a piece of that one. It's been a tough year for him. He had that staph infection, both eyes bothered by that. Actually had his eyeball scraped. Yeah, at one point in the season. That sounds painful. He was able to clear up so he could see better. He hit 41 home runs, but the average dropped all the way down to 250. And this is a 300 hitter. Any season. Here's the 1-2 pitch from the righty. 2-2.
Bad knee all year long. Baltimore hit him in the hand, and for like 3 weeks he couldn't even close it enough to even shake a hand. And through all of that, 156 games played this year. I'd say that's a guy that you want to have as an employee.
Absolutely. 107 RBIs to boot. 2-2 on him. The one thing about Giambi that really stands out when you talk about those 41 home runs, 29 of them came on the road. He led the majors in that category. Only 3 Yankees have ever hit more road homers in a season. Babe Ruth hit 32. Roger Maris had 31 in 1961. Mickey Mantle 30 in 1961. Just a little low. Giambi has a terrific eye. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, we've seen him a lot of times hit home runs to that part of the ballpark. But at Yankee Stadium in left center, it says 399, and that's where a lot of long fly balls find leather.
Williamson with a payoff pitch. That is in there for strike 3. Got him looking. 1 down in the bottom of the 9th for the Yankees.
Williamson might have got a lot of people on this. This is the first slider that Giambi saw on that at bat. Take a look at the 3-2 pitch. It starts out like it's going to be high in ball 4, but no, a little tilt to it at the end. It comes back to catch the top part of the strike zone. The Yankee crowd gets quiet, and Jason Giambi has to go and sit down.
0 for 3 tonight.
You know, and that's been a problem all year long. The Yankees had the lowest batting average for designated hitters in the American League this year.
Well, here's the center fielder, Bernie Williams from Puerto Rico. 0 for 2. They have had nothing tonight from their top 4 men in the batting order. Not a single hit between Soriano and Bernie Williams. Just a couple of walks. That's it. 1 through 4 has been deathly quiet for the Yankees. 1 ball and 1 strike on Bernie. So the combination of Soriano, Jeter, Giambi, and Williams is 0 for 13. Base is empty. Hit sharply, but it came up for Millar, and there are 2 quick outs in the Yankee 9th. So Williamson on the brink of a save here. He has one more out to get. Easy play from Millar. He's the man who said cowboy up. He grabbed a microphone when the Red Sox clinched a playoff spot in September. And at Fenway Park, he hollered for everyone to cowboy up. Well, Wakefield did tonight. Cowboy down, they say here in New York. And so far, thumbs up for Boston. They lead at 5-2.
They are down to their last out.
Now, if Posada makes it out here, it's going to be the 7th time in this game the Red Sox had retired the Yankees in order. 1, 2, 3.
We talked about the keys to the ball game for Boston tonight. Wakefield needed to knuckle down. He got that done. Their offense needed to wake up. It did with the 3 home runs they were able to perform tonight.
And now the Red Sox are 1 strike away from grabbing a 1-0 lead in the best-of-7 American League Championship Series. After flying all night after Monday's clincher in Oakland in Northern California, they traveled clear to the other side of the country. Almost no sleep. 1 more strike and they beat the Yankees to take an advantage in the series. 1-2 on Posada. Comes in, almost hit him on the foot. That chases Posada out of the box. 2-2. The Yankees lost game 1 of the last 6 postseason series. This speaks to what you were talking about, Rick Sutcliffe. They've come back and won 5 out of those 6.
I think it's just kind of like the first round of a heavyweight boxing match. You know, you just go out there and try not to get hurt. Make sure you can make it for that bell in the second.
Well, these are the 2 heavyweights of the American League. This is Ali Frazier.
Has been for a long time.
Going back to 1920 when the Red Sox sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees. That started the so-called curse of the Bambino. Well, if the curse is going to end for the Boston Red Sox, it probably has to include a victory somewhere along the line against the New York Yankees, if you believe in such things.
Well, they've thus far got it reversed for a night. It's a long ways from being over. You know that Joe Torre will find a way to get his troops refocused, and you know that they're thrilled to have that man out there on the mound in a game that they need to win.
Andy Pettit to go tomorrow night against Derek Lowe. Here's the 3-2. Fouled away by Posada. Pesky at bat for the Yankee catcher.
You go back to that series in '99 where the Yankees beat the Red Sox 4-1. Well, the one game Boston won was game 3 when Pedro won 13-1 over Roger Clemens. But who came right back with a win for them in game 4? Well, the man that's on the mound for the Yankees tomorrow, Andy Pettit.
That's in there for strike 3, and the ball game is over. Posada strikes out, and the Red Sox have taken game 1 of the 2003 American League Championship Series by a final score of 5-2. Tonight, they outpitched the Yankees. They outhit the Yankees. And maybe they've chipped away a bit at the curse of the Bambino, grabbing game 1.
And they've chipped a little bit more confidence in their direction, Dave, with that bullpen. It is now 14 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings for what was their problem all year long.
That was the Achilles heel. It may have healed just in time. So the Red Sox celebrating a win in front of a sold-out Yankee Stadium. That's a very sweet sight back in New England tonight. Williamson firing in a strike. He fans Posada. Wakefield was just outstanding pitching into the 7th inning. He had the knuckler floating all night long. He allowed just 2 hits. He picks up the win, and so does Grady Little. Nothing routine about this playoff win. It comes against their hated rivals, the New York Yankees. It's time for our Pepsi play of the game. We're going to make it our player of the game, and it's Wakefield.
And it has to be. Just outstanding for 6 straight innings. He gave the offense an opportunity to kind of get relaxed and rested a little bit. They put up 4 runs for him in the 4th and 5th inning. You see the ovation for him. You see his teammates appreciating that. And I'm telling you, I know there isn't no such thing as a must win when it's not an elimination game. But when you have Pedro Martinez going in Game 3, tomorrow's game for the New York Yankees gets that much more important.
That's going to be Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte to wrap up this one now. The Red Sox out hitting the Yankees 13-3. Wakefield is 1-0. Mike Mussina did not last through 6 innings tonight. Not a good effort. He's 0-1. Williamson picks up the save. Home runs for Boston by Todd Walker, Manny Ramirez, and David Ortiz. Ortiz launched a 2-run shot in the 4th inning off Mussina. That landed into the upper deck and really got the Red Sox offense going tonight. They added 2 more in the 5th, another run in the 7th. And John Henry, who has cowboyed up the owner of the Boston Red Sox, celebrating a win tonight. A wonderful evening inside Yankee Stadium. We want to thank you so much for joining us. A nice celebration of baseball as the playoffs continue. One terrific game after another. The Red Sox win this one by a final score of 5-2. David Ortiz with a big home run. Again, an upper deck shot. He continues to be hotter than a firecracker. They also got a home run from Walker. That in the 5th inning, and Manny Ramirez added 1 in the 5th as well, 2 batters later. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, it's Game 2. The Red Sox and the Yankees from the stadium. But Boston carries a 1-0 lead. It'll be Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte. Indeed, a must-win situation all of a sudden for the Yankees because it's Pedro Martinez at Fenway Park, Game 3 of the ALCS. For Rick Sutcliffe, I'm Dave O'Brien. Have a good evening, everybody. And once again, your final in Game 1, the Red Sox 5, the Yankees 2.